Good evening and welcome. It is 6 p.m. on the evening of January 5th. I'd like to call this very first meeting for 2021 Oak Harbor City Council to order. First meeting of the year, first Tuesday of the year, January 5th, 6 p.m. I'd like to invite you to stand and join us at this time in an invocation tonight, which will be led by Pastor Ron Lawler of the Family Bible Church, and immediately following that, I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Lawler?
If you'd like to pause for a moment as I offer the invocation. Our Father in heaven, as we enter this new year, we are grateful for another chance to serve our community. Again, we are thankful for the many blessings we've received, even in the midst of a pandemic. We, the citizens of Oak Harbor, are thankful for our mayor, city council, chief of police, fire chief, and the dozens who make each area of service able to care for and respond to the needs of our community. Please grant mercy, health, and grace to all these who serve our community. Would you also grant them the special wisdom needed to effectively lead in their respective areas? Please give us an energetic anticipation for the potential accomplishments which lie before us in 2021. And finally, please help us to learn how to work together, even when we disagree, that we might be your hands to serve and protect our lovely community. We ask for you to speed the resolution of the pandemic and show mercy to those impacted by the virus. With hearts of gratitude and expectation, we pray, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Ron. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Due to COVID-19, there is no physical meeting location per Washington Proclamation 20-28. Tonight's meeting may be viewed live via YouTube and replayed on Channel 10. In addition, the public may call 623-404-9000 and enter the meeting ID number, which is 149-766-1467, to listen to the meeting live, and this is for audio only. Council members and city staff are participating via teleconference. The staff sitting in council chambers are all physically distanced at least 6 feet apart and will be wearing masks when they are not speaking. On Wednesday, December 30, Governor Inslee announced an extension of statewide restrictions until January 11, 2021. At a press conference today, the governor introduced a new phasing plan. We are monitoring these updates each week, pretty much each day, and we'll do our best to keep council apprised of any changes. I want to thank the public, thank City Council, and certainly thank our staff for working so hard as we continue to follow these requirements. Please remember to wear masks and maintain physical distance in public spaces. This evening we have high winds in the Oak Harbor area and may lose power. If for any reason we cannot continue the meeting, the items scheduled for this evening that we do not get to will be moved to a future date. At this time then, I'd like to ask our city clerk, Julie, to please do our roll call.
Thank you, Mayor
Julie?
Severance. Mayor Pro Tem Munns.
Present.
Councilmember Heisen. Councilmember Heisen. Councilmember Servadius.
Present.
Councilmember Wassinger.
Present.
Councilmember Wiesner.
Present.
Councilmember Mack.
Present.
Councilmember Goebel.
Present.
Mayor, we have 6 of our 7 city council members present this evening.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Guests that are included in staff presentations will be kept in the waiting room until the appropriate agenda item and excused from the Ring Central meeting at the conclusion of that agenda item or their agenda item. The city attorney and staff have asked that we add a closed session following the close of tonight's regular meeting to discuss labor negotiations per RCW 4230-140, Section 4. Okay, then we will then move to our approval of the agenda. If there are any changes or suggestions for that, just let us know, and if not, we'll move forward with the agenda as presented. Okay, not seeing any. We have, this evening, we have no special recognitions or presentations, so we will then move to the citizen comment period. Citizens may comment on subjects of interest not listed on the agenda or items listed on the consent agenda. Public comment may be submitted electronically to the city clerk at jlindsay@oakarbor.org or by calling 360-279-4539 after 5 p.m. on the Friday preceding the meeting and prior to the meeting. To ensure comments are recorded properly, we ask that you please state your name clearly when leaving a message, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. We received public comment for this meeting in regard to item 7A, Resolution 21-02, endorsing the Oak Harbor Public School District number 201 four-year levy. The city clerk will read into the record the comments received via the city's website public comment link for this item when we get to the item on the agenda. So then now we have no other public comment other than that. Okay, we will move then to the consent agenda. So section number 4 on our agenda, we have items A through G. So if anyone wants to discuss or has questions about that, not seeing any, the consent agenda will be approved as presented. Okay. We will then next move to item number 5A, which is mayor comments. We will also have time for council comments at this time. So I have several things to discuss. The Harbor Heights Sports Complex project planning. The city is seeking public input regarding the Harbor Heights Sports Complex project planning. The survey process is ending on January 7th at 5 p.m. So that's just a few days from now, January 7th, 2021 at 5 p.m. The first phase of the project includes soccer fields to address some of the soccer fields the community will lose when the school district begins construction on the Fort Nugent property. The soccer fields are prioritized in the first phase because of funding the city received to construct soccer fields and a parking lot on this property. Future phases of the project will include additional sports fields, activities areas, and amenities, and the city is asking the community to review the details on the city website at oakharbor.org/Harbor Heights and click the link to take a survey to provide their input about which features of a future sports complex are most important to them. Updated information on the stimulus CARES funds. You may have seen lately in national news that the federal government has indicated it may release additional funding and extend the deadline for the original CARES Act grant funding. At this time, we do not know what the impact of this might be for the city, as the Washington State Department of Commerce has not released an update. A report on the use of the CARES funding will be presented at the January 27 workshop, and we expect to have more information about the new federal legislation as part of that report. Support Oak Harbor businesses. We recently launched a new website, supportoakharborbusinesses.com, and over 105 businesses are already listed. Now that the Home for the Holidays promotion is wrapped up, we are promoting this new website to assist our local business community. We sent out a mailer and are receiving positive feedback from community members to staff. I appreciate all the work done by our staff stepping up to provide additional assistance to our business community. And I can tell you that it's been a partnership with our Chamber of Commerce and our other business organizations to support Oak Harbor businesses. Please do that every chance you get. Community response to COVID-19. City facilities remain open, but we would like to remind the community of our many options to conduct business and connect with staff virtually. Electronic bill pay, virtual development application meetings, virtual boards and commissions meetings, and an online comment portal are just a few of the ways we have adapted to meet the needs of the community during this pandemic. More details and resources about the local impact of COVID-19 can be found on our website, www.oakharbor.org/COVID-19. Vaccinations. Vaccination is an important step on the path out of the COVID-19 pandemic. Oak Harbor Public Health, in coordination with the Washington State Department of Health and other partners, continue to plan for Island County vaccine distribution. Washington State Department of Health and Island County Public Health are using a phased approach to administering the vaccine according to the allocation guidance. The phased approach starts with individuals who meet the 1A allocation requirements. Individuals who meet 1A Tier 1 allocation are employees/workers who have a job in the medical/emergency services as identified by the Washington Department of Health, as well as residents of adult care facilities. City of Oak Harbor audit meeting. City Finance Director David Goldman met with the auditor from the State Auditor's Office today and was given the great news that they found no material errors. David credits the great work by our staff, who provided them with all the information they requested quickly. The auditors would like to schedule an exit interview for the council and have suggested 5 p.m. on February 2nd, prior to the regular council meeting. This would be noticed as a special meeting if a quorum of the council wishes to attend. The auditors noted the meeting will most likely take only 1/2 hour. I would like to take a poll now as to how many council members wish to attend. Please let us know by a show of hands at this time if you would. Okay, I see Mayor Pro Tem's hand up. So there's Councilor Servadius. Great. And Councilor Wiesner. Okay. Okay, well, let us know. If there are more than 3 wishing to attend, we will notice a special meeting. So if we've got another counselor that might be interested in attending, just let us know as soon as possible so that we can make sure that we notice that meeting. So with that, I think my comments for this evening under mayor comments are concluded, and I will now move to council comments. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Trying to push the right button. I just want to say welcome to the new people. No changes on the consent agenda, to Ryan Bradley and the reappointment of J.J. Jones, Ken Hewlett, and Cheryl Lawler to step up and volunteer on our committees. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I certainly agree. Our volunteers are very valuable. We have, let me see. We have anyone else for council comments? Okay, seeing none, do we have city administrator? Okay, no comments this evening from the city administrator. We will then move on to our public hearings and meetings section. And our first tonight, resolution 6A, item number 6A is resolution number 2101 to have a public hearing on public surplus solid waste trucks. So I think at this point, I will turn that over to Sandra Place. Sandra? Or I see Kathy Rosen here, our Public Works Director. Sorry, Kathy.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This item is to adopt a resolution number 2101, which surpluses 2 solid waste trucks. RCW 3594040 requires a public hearing prior to surplusing city property that was acquired with utility funds. So we are proposing to remove these items from our inventory and dispose of them properly when the new trucks get in. They've been ordered for a few months now, but could take up to 9 to 12 months to get them. And the list of those vehicles is attached to your agenda bill. At this time, we're recommending that council or the mayor open the public hearing, you receive public comment, and then consider that and adopt resolution 2101 declaring property acquired by the utility funds to be surplus. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. So at this time, I will open the public meeting on the surplus of 2 solid waste trucks. And I'll turn to our clerk to see if we have received any comments from the public.
Mayor Severns, the city published a legal notice for this hearing in the Whitby News Times. Those wishing to comment on this item could do so electronically via the city website, comment form, or by email or voicemail to myself, the city clerk. No comments were received.
Okay, so having received no comments, then the public hearing is closed. And I will turn to, do we have, Sandra, any additional comments?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Okay. So questions, council, input, motions? I'll turn to the council. Councilor Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Seeing no other comment, I would like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 21-01 declaring property acquired by utility funds to be surplus.
Second.
So we've got a motion and a second that reads like the recommended action in our packet. Motion by Councilor Wiesner, second by Mayor Pro Tem Munns. Any other input or questions from council? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, raise your hands. Okay, that's, we have 6 in favor, all opposed? Any opposed? Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that passes unanimously then. Thank you. Okay, I will then go on to ordinance number 1914, zoning code revisions, central business district standards, repealing development moratorium, continued hearing from November 17th. And I believe this evening we have Ray Lindenberg from our planning department. Ray?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. If you can hear me okay, I am going to do a brief presentation tonight since we've discussed this several times in the past, most recently in November on the 17th, I believe it was. At that time, the City Council asked us to reach out to the Main Street Association to make sure that there were no further comments or questions or concerns that they had with our proposed changes to the Central Business District Code. We did reach out to them, our phone conversation, and also an email that sent them the full copy of the proposed changes that was sent out on December 12th or December 11th. And as far as I know, we have not had any comments or anything back. If they have anything to add tonight, certainly welcome that public comment. What I'm going to do is go ahead and share my presentation here very quickly. And like I said, I'm not going to go through the full content of it because we've done it before, but I did want to touch on a couple things just to refresh everybody's memory. The portion of it that you did approve previously was in Ordinance 1909, and that included some of the definition changes that we added to the Section 1908. They include some of those definitions that referred specifically to the central business district, including the active facade, some of the uses, conference centers, bars and taverns, retail sales, etc. We didn't feel like this was any kind of an issue having those adopted first because they would essentially be kind of zombie definitions if this central business district code does not get approved, which would be a little bit of a problem, but not a huge legal issue. We're not allowing anything that would cause any problems later on down the road. So those are already approved. And then we moved into Ordinance 1914, which are the actual changes to the central business district. We had the kind of background statement there. We talked about simplifying those central business district zoning regulations, the reasoning behind some of these changes and the kind of impetus behind that. And then, as I mentioned, following our presentation on November 17th, the City Council asked staff to retake, which we did do. The intent of the changes, we wanted to go through and make sure we had clarity. We wanted to make sure that community desires were reflected in the new code. We had the question of the principal versus accessory permitted uses, and then we had the issue of the dimensional standards, which we felt was a loophole to the code. And so that was the intent of our changes to the code. Like I said, I'm not going to read through all these, but we did make these changes, and those are available in your packet. We had the 60 different uses that we had in there that we boiled down to more useful code language. We added some new definitions and use categories, and those were the ones that I just talked about, Ordinance 1909, which is already approved. And then the community desires, of course, we always bring up this little infographic here, this word cloud of some of the things that people want to see in the downtown district. And then the principal versus accessory uses, we removed that distinction to get rid of that very kind of wishy-washy, if you will, terminology that is open to significant interpretation. And then the dimensional standards, which we felt were the kind of biggest impediment to rational development downtown, as we did not have any specific standards for lot dimensions, which created issues of including strips and separations and things like that that are kind of a loophole within the code. So again, those are the four intents of the changes of our code. So that is the extent of what I'm going to give to you as far as a presentation tonight, unless you have further specific questions, which I am happy to help out or answer, or anything that you want to discuss tonight. Otherwise, I will leave it to the City Council.
Thank you, Ray. Before we actually go to council, I will announce that the public hearing is continued then on this evening, and I will turn to Julie to find out if we've received any input from the public.
Thank you, Mayor. As stated before, the same is true here. We published a legal notice for this hearing in the Whidbey News Times. Those wishing to comment on the item could do so electronically via the website or by email or voicemail to myself, and no comments were received.
Okay, so with that, we will close the public hearing then at this time and turn to the City Council, and I see Councilor Mack has his hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
You bet.
And Happy New Year to all. And I would like to extend a great gratitude and thanks to Ray Lindbergh for all your efforts in this, Ray. I know that took a lot of doing. It couldn't come at a more important time. And I think you did a fine job getting it all squared away with all the good language and all the different distinctions in those codes. So thank you again, Ray.
Thank you.
Counselor Servadius.
Thank you, Mayor. It's good to be back and be able to speak. I'll just, I guess, second what Mr. Mack said. Mr. Lindenberg, thank you. I know it's a lot of work, you and anyone else that was involved behind the scenes. And I appreciate both staff and my peers. You know, we took a look at this last November, and I appreciate the pause to let Main Street take one more look at it and make sure that it works for them down there. There's a lot of merchants that are very involved in this process and making that district work, and their livelihoods on the line based on how that whole area develops. So I'm glad we took the time to just slow down a little bit and take another look at it. And I'll scan the list of participants. If there aren't any hands up, I'm happy to make the motion, Mayor. I'm not seeing any hands.
You're right.
So
Go ahead.
without further ado, I move to adopt ordinance number 1914.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 1914. Motion by Councilor Servadius, second by Councilor Wassinger. So seeing no other input or questions, all in favor, raise your hands. Okay, there are 6 in favor, so I'm assuming that we have none opposed. That passes unanimously. Thank you, council, and thank you also to staff for a lot of patience, a lot of hard work. Thank you. So we'll move on then to item number 6C, which is ordinance number 1919, 2020 Comprehensive Plan Amendments continued from December 15th. And I think we have, looks like we have our senior planner, Kak Mack. Kak, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of the council. Senior Planner Kak Mack here to present the 2020 Comprehensive Plan Amendments. I'll share my screen so you can follow along the slides that I have. I'm hoping you guys can see that. Okay. So the 2020 amendments that are in front of you include a couple items. One is a change to the future land use map for the Harbor Heights property and the capital improvements plan for 2021 to 2026. In the gray format, you can see there are a couple items that are on the docket, but they are carrying over to the next year, which is the housing element. And as you are all aware that we are still working on the housing action plan that will flow into the comprehensive plan when it gets adopted. So that's in progress. And also the JPA and UGA boundary capacity discussion. This is also an ongoing item that we have at the county. So no action tonight on them. However, work is still progressing on those items. So I'll go over the two amendments that are here for the 2020 amendments. So one is the land use change, and this is for the Harbor Heights property. The city council is aware that the city owns this property, about 75 acres or so. The land use currently is industrial, and the proposed land use is for public facilities in order to accommodate a park, a community park. So included in the packet, I have a land use map of the area. As you can see, this is the subject property. Currently, it is industrial. You can see industrial designation mainly in this Oak Harbor and Goldie Road corridor. It is close to the base, and it's based on a comprehensive plan to keep residential away from this area and keep it allocated for industrial. And so there is plenty of land there for industrial development yet to occur. And to the south and to the east, we have some residential uses. And of course, to the west, it's in the county, and we don't have any land use designation, but it is primarily of low density uses surrounding this property. So the land use change is supported by our parks plan in 2019 when the parks plan adopted. This map was adopted along with it. The previous plan also identified a similar area for a community park. And so this is consistent with all the plans that we have. And we do have the needs for the facilities, soccer fields, and other facilities that could potentially be lost at Fort Nugent. The environmental impacts can be addressed; they could be mitigated, and it's compatible with surrounding land uses. And we're not limiting our industrial options by converting this land use change. So this is the first step in developing the park. We still have to rezone the property. So this is a land use change. And this is a legislative action that the city council takes. The rezoning is a quasi-judicial process and it goes through the hearing examiner. And that will also have to occur before the property can be developed as a park. So we have that process lined up once this process is done. So a couple more steps before we get to actual site development and so on. So we also have a capital improvements plan. This is a 6-year plan. The city council is familiar with it. We look at the plan every year, make adjustments to the schedule, and this year it happens to be with the budget. So the first, and as the slide indicates, it's in sync with the budget. We follow the same format. We're in Oak Harbor. The budget has a 6-year time frame, which works great for capital improvement planning. So we can take the projects that are in the budget and put them in the CIP, and that's how consistent we can be between our CIP and our budget. Just in comparison, there are cities that do just 2-year budget, and the capital improvements plan does the 6-year, and they only sync up the first 2 years. But for us, we sync up almost all the 6 years, and so we're really consistent with our budgetary plans and look into the future. Also consistent with regional plans because we pull from all these regional interests in our public input process. And we also participate in a lot of the regional communities or committees. So I have on the left here, as you can see, follow my slide, I have a table of all the different funds that we have, streets and parks, and we can get into it in detail if the council has questions. This is information that's in your packet. I'll quickly touch upon the criteria. These have been addressed in the agenda bill. The amendments that are going forward are consistent with plans. They are in compliance with the GMA. They address changing circumstances in the community. Environmental impacts and SEPA measures have been included in the SEPA determination. It's compatible with the surrounding land uses, and it accommodates new policy direction from the city council in terms of the capital improvement plan. Have a slide on the process. This is our annual process and how we deal with amendments. It's in our municipal code and how we follow these process and what timelines we have. So this is the process for 2020, and here we are with the city council action. So the recommended action tonight is for the city council to open the public hearing, take public testimony, close the public hearing, and act on the proposed resolution approving the comprehensive plan amendments. I'd be happy to take questions, comments, thoughts.
Thank you, CAC. At this time, then, I would like to continue the public hearing for ordinance number 1919. I'll turn to our city clerk regarding any possible comments from the public.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, we received no comments for this public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Julie. No comments, so the public hearing then is closed. I would like to turn to City Council. Any input or questions or? Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Doesn't look like there's a lot of questions. This is an exciting project, and it's great to start the work to put this in the correct listing in our ordinances so that we can continue with the park. So if there's no further, I'll make the motion. I move that we adopt ordinance number 1919, adopting the 2020 comprehensive plan amendments and adopting an updated capital improvement plan.
Second.
Okay, so we've got a motion that reads exactly like the recommended action in your packet. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Munns and second by Councilor Wiesner. Seeing no other input or questions, all in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, that passes unanimously. We have 6 in favor. Thank you. Okay, we will then move to item number 7A. Resolution 21-02, endorsing the Oak Harbor School District 4-year replacement levy. As a part of the public outreach for this resolution, a web page was created to display the draft resolution and allow for public comments on this topic. Citizens could also request to speak during this live meeting in support of or opposition to this resolution. We did receive 2 comments via the comment form on the website, which I'll turn to our city clerk, Julie, to read those.
Thank you, Mayor. We received 2 comments. The first from Lynn Goebel, Oak Harbor School Director, Position 1. Lynn says, the support of our city leaders is critical in maintaining our awarding school district. More than ever, our students will need the commitment of our community to ensure a bright future for all students. Thank you, Mayor Severns and City Council, for your support for our local schools by endorsing Resolution 21-02 for the Oak Harbor School District 4-year replacement levy. The second comment we received was from John Diamond. He writes, the support of the mayor and city council is greatly appreciated on the school levy. The school board realizes the value of our community, and your support shows support not only within Oak Harbor, but for our school community at large.
Thank you, Julie. We appreciate that. And we also received a request from Nicole Tesh, Chair of the Citizens for Better Schools, and Dr. Lance Gibbon, our Superintendent of Schools, to speak. Mrs. Tesh and Dr. Gibbon will now provide their comments. Hopefully, they're here, been patiently waiting in our waiting room, so I'll turn to Nicole Tesh. Welcome, Nicole. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Mayor. All right, my name is Nicole Tesh. I live at 847 Southwest Fairhaven Drive here in lovely Oak Harbor. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Nikki Tesh, and I'm the chair for the Citizens for Better Schools Committee. More importantly, I'm a mom of 5 kids, 4 of which are in 3 different schools in the Oak Harbor School District. My husband and I are proud alumni going back 4 generations, starting in 1934 and ranging all the way to the graduating class of 2033. To say I'm invested in our school district is an understatement. I'm here tonight because we need to show up for our community and our children. We have a proud community who supports our schools. And now more than ever, our children are going to need this type of support due to the pandemic. They are school supplies, mental health counselors, special education paraeducators, nurses, physical education, the arts to trigger their imagination, library books, new curriculum, hot lunches, career and technical education, custodians to keep our schools clean and safe, and technology, something we learned very starkly with the pandemic. All of these things I just listed are supported by the replacement levy, as well as 631 staff members, 28 classrooms, and countless programs. Without this levy, these things are not funded. This isn't even a question that we need to do this for our children. It's critical. So please join me in supporting the Oak Harbor School District Replacement Levy. Please vote yes for schools and show up for our children. They are the future of our community and they need our support. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nikki. Job well done. Thank you. Now I'd like to turn to Dr. Gibbon. Lance, welcome.
Well, thank you, Mayor Severance and City Council. I want to start by saying it was fun having a virtual snowball fight with many of you this past winter. December it was a lot of fun. I don't know who hit me, but they have a really good shot, so that was a good time. Well, I'm here just to say I really appreciate the City Council and all of the city leadership for considering tonight's resolution to support Oak Harbor Public Schools levy. It has been a really difficult season for us, a really difficult fall and our prior spring. But we are proud of the fact that Oak Harbor Public Schools was the largest school in district in Western Washington to bring students back to in-person learning and preschool through 6th grade this year. In fact, we've had over 2,600 students a week attending school in hybrid learning, and that's unlike any other district in our region. And because of that, we've been able to keep our staff, our employees employed with no furloughs or layoffs that we've seen in some of our neighboring communities. And we've also really been able to take care of our families because of the support of our levy. And that includes everything from providing all the school supplies that our students needed this school year, knowing the impact that this has had on our families through the pandemic. We've also been able to provide Chromebooks for every child. That's another levy supported investment. And through all of this, we have seen incredible results for our kids, especially those that have been able to attend in person. And we've also provided learning opportunities or opportunities for connection through clubs and activities. We've actually been running some sports workouts, and students have been participating in community service through many of their clubs. But as many of the positives that we have seen, we also recognize how hard this has been on our kids and families during this pandemic, and it has really taken a toll. We have had children as young as 3rd grade, even those in a hybrid program that talked about taking their own lives. And we know that we've got a lot of work to do to help our kids heal and come back from all of this. And that's really where our levy is going to come in. And we've got just a few priorities that are going to be really important and different from maybe in the past. Number one is we are going to be working very hard to heal the social and emotional damage that our students have experienced. And that means looking at mental health counselors and other supports that we can put in place. We're going to rebuild connections. And that's where arts and athletics and activities, all of these programs that bring kids back together are going to be more important than ever. And then, of course, we know that our students have not received everything they needed in terms of learning, and that's where we're going to restore lost learning. And that's where our after-school tutoring programs and activity buses and tutor buses, all of those things come to play. A huge part. And in the end, this levy is just a replacement. We're asking for $2.28 per thousand. That's what we've asked for in the past, or that's what we're collecting this year, and that's what we're looking for moving forward. And I just appreciate you as the City Council and city leadership for considering supporting this levy through this endorsement tonight. And we just value you and all the work that you've done as well. So thank you very much, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Dr. Gibbon. Wonderful job. A lot of hard work, and thank you. I'd like at this time then for our Senior Services Administrator, Liz Lang, to present the resolution. Liz?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. In response to Council's request for a resolution to support the 2021 levy, I was happy to work with Nikki Tesh and Grant Weed to draft the resolution that was found in your packet tonight. And let's see, I'm going to screen share the slides again, or should I pull that up? Let's see.
Okay. It's.
Oh, there we are.
Can you see it there, Liz?
Yes, I think maybe my internet might have froze for a second there. Wonderful, thank you. So as was briefly covered, the Board of Directors of the Oak Harbor School District number 201 adopted resolution number 2007 concerning a proposition for partial financing of operation and maintenance expenses. This proposed school four-year replacement levy will be on the ballot in 2021 of February of this year, and if approved by the voters, will provide the Oak Harbor schools with local revenues that on a per pupil basis are less than half the local taxes collected by nearby school districts. And as Dr. Gibbons shared, the proposed approximate levy rate is $2.28 per $1,000 assessed value for 2022 through 2025. This is a four-year levy, and City Council has adopted several resolutions over the years to continually support a school levy, the most recent being Resolution 1701, endorsing the 2017 school levy. So at this time, we would ask Council to adopt Resolution 2102, endorsing the Oak Harbor School District number 201 for a four-year replacement levy.
Okay, thank you, Liz. We'll then turn to council and ask for, let me see, I've got some hands here. Mayor Pro Tem Munns.
Thank you, Mayor. I would move that we adopt Resolution 2102, endorsing the Oak Harbor School District number 201 four-year replacement levy.
Second.
So I see, okay, and I see some other hands too. So we do have a motion now, a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 21-02, endorsing the Oak Harbor School District four-year replacement levy. And I will still turn to the councilors with their hands up. Councilor Wassinger.
Thank you, Mayor. I support the motion in second. I've been a proud supporter of the levy and volunteered my time for Citizens for Better Schools for going on 8 years now. I have two children in the district, and I think about how hard it's been, especially for my seventh grader, since March, not stepping foot in a school building this entire time. And I think about the reasons that I know that she's struggling, and it's because she loves school. And the reason she loves school is because she loves all the activities. She loves playing sports. She loves all the clubs. She loves her teachers. She loves her friends. She is not a very outgoing person, but she really enjoys the activities at school and the technology and all of the opportunities. And for as upsetting as it has been for us and for my family to not have her at school, I have to realize that the reason is because of the levy. That's the reason she wants to go to school, and that's the reason why she's so upset. So I fully support this, because when she does get to go back to school, which I hope is very soon, I want her to continue to love school and to thrive and to make good grades and to be a part of all of her activities, her sports. She loved being a part of the Green Club. And you know, just all of her activities, the Wildcat TV. I know it's a little different in the younger grades, but all of that technology that she's participated in over the years, and the sports and clubs, I really urge our community to support those things for our kids. I see it in raising my children here, that it makes their lives so much better, and I think it's going to make their future so much better. So I just wanted to put my personal spin on that, and hope that everybody supports the levy too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Wassinger. Councilor Servadius.
Thank you. I too will support this. You know, I've had some discussions with folks, and obviously you got people that are pro the levy, people that may not support it as much. And I just had to reflect back. You know, we moved to Oak Harbor in the spring of '97. And at that time, we were looking very heavily at Anacortes or at Oak Harbor. And we did not have kids. We knew we were going to start a family. We didn't have kids, but we knew how important a solid school system was. And at that time, the scales tilted fairly fairly heavily, but certainly tilted towards Anacortes in our assessment that we did at the time. And that was in 1997. It was a few short years later that these levies started to pass. And we've never looked back as a community. It's been the generous support of the community that I think has propelled this school district into one of the best in the state. And I know Dr. Gibbon didn't list all of the programs that the levy, I mean, he hinted at some of the programs that the levy provides, but it's really support at all levels. Everything from, if you look at the caliber and the amount, the quantity of AP classes we have to VOTEC programs, it's just unbelievable, all the way down to special ed and paraeducators. I mean, it's really unbelievable the amount of support that this community has provided. And I think the district has done a very good job of using those assets. Some people did approach me and say, well, why would we support this if our kids aren't even in school? And I guess I can, I try and appreciate that sentiment, but no one can plan for a pandemic. This pandemic is not forever. Hopefully, as the vaccines continue to roll out, we'll get through it this spring and get back to a more normal or a traditional state of affairs, which will have kids in school. And once again, I just reflect back to, when we looked, it was very close to planting our flag in Anacortes, but we decided because of the base and a few other factors to move to Oak Harbor, and I'm grateful that we did. We've planted our flag here. And so I too have 2 kids in the school district right now, a freshman and a junior. But even way back in those days, in 97, when I was voting for levies and didn't have any kids at all, I knew that someday I would. And as I look back someday, even after my kids have graduated, I still want to see this school district remain strong. And it has been strong because of the support of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mack.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I agree with everyone. My 3 children have gone to school through all the Oak Harbor different schools based on where we were living at the time. I've supported the schools, my wife, my business, and I for the last 30 years. And I've seen them flourish with new schools, remodeling schools. But I do have some concerns here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did we not receive some advice on our legal counsel concerning this, or has something changed? So I would like to get our legal counsel, Grant Weed, on where the council stands on with this type of endorsement for a levy, and are we okay to do so moving forward?
Mayor, I'd be glad to assist in responding. For the record, Grant Weed, City Attorney. Councilmember Mack, you are right. The public disclosure laws do prohibit campaigning using public facilities. However, there are some limited exceptions, and one of those exceptions is collectively you as a city council are allowed to take a position on a matter that's scheduled for an election, whether that's for a candidate or a proposition like this school levy. So we are operating tonight by giving consideration to this resolution under an exception to the public disclosure laws. So we are allowed to have this discussion. What the law does require, and I believe the city has complied with it, is to place the language of the ballot measure on your agenda in the record, and also to allow approximately equal time for opposing views, which is, I understand it, no public comment has been received to that effect, but you've done your legal duty by allowing others to state their views. And I guess I would just want to confirm with the city clerk that there, other than the comments that have been read into the record and those who have provided live public comment tonight, that there are no others who have requested to give comment.
Thank you, Grant. That is correct. The only comments received were in support of the resolution. There were no comments against it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Weed. I appreciate your clarification on that. And moving forward, yes, if that's the case, I'm in full support of endorsing this. And it is important to the community, and we've got a lot of great people involved. So thank you very much, everybody, for all the effort put forward. That's all.
So we have Councilor Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to share, my thoughts on this and I guess my story a little bit. And I had gone to my closet to try and find some of my best Wildcat garb, Nikki, but the only thing I could really come up with was this, which I felt was the ultimate Wildcat garb, my diploma. So I actually did graduate, 14 toughest years of my life, but I made it. But the reality is, I can remember going into middle school here in Oak Harbor. 7th grade came along, and like a lot of 7th grade kids, school wasn't my favorite thing at all. In fact, the reality is, I kind of would like, at that point in time in my life, for school to just go away, right? And what happened is I actually got my wish, because it was a period in time where several levies back to back had failed in our school district. And our school district found ourselves in an unenviable position of having to choose what programs to cut. And my entire middle school time in the Oak Harbor School District consisted of a 5-period class with no lunch. We were sent home at lunchtime. All of the electives were canceled. All of the sports were canceled. Music was canceled. Everything was canceled. Fortunately, a couple years later, the people in Oak Harbor saw what this was doing to our school and our children, right? Had a huge effect upon me. I mean, imagine, getting out of school every day at noon and then trying to find something to do the rest of the day, right? So there's a lot of people not finding good things to do, right? Because the school obviously is a great way to keep the kids occupied and keep them, I guess, entertained, if nothing else, for lack of a better term. But as I went into high school, fortunately, the electives came back, right? The levies were approved, and I was a product of the technical part of Oak Harbor High School. I excelled in the technical skills, and in fact, because of a couple of extra credit classes, I was actually able to graduate in October of my senior year. 1 month into my senior year, I graduated from Oak Harbor High School, and I took a job paying more than my dad was making right out of high school. So that's my story. I remember it well. I remember what happened when we didn't have these fluff classes or these extracurricular things. Not every student is going to excel in math, and not every student is going to excel in reading, right? So we need these technical classes. We need these computer classes. We need the music classes. Think of the music that has come out of the Ed Bridges days when, I was in school. You look at the Oak Harbor Music Festival. That came from Oak Harbor High School, right? And that came from the Oak Harbor High School music program that would not have been there if the people had not reinstated the levies back when I was going to school. So just my story. It's a reminder to me as to why we need to support these programs. And it's the reason I seconded this motion. So appreciate you, Lance, and everything you're doing this year. I do have 2 grandchildren that I am homeschooling. I'm doing the best I can with it. It's tough. Nikki, I see your post on Facebook all the time. You are my idol. You got the 5 of them lined up there, each with their own little desk. And I know you're doing that while juggling a full-time job too. But we appreciate both you guys' efforts and Millie's efforts here too in this program, and certainly something I want to support. And I wanted to share that story. I don't want people to forget. Remember, let's learn by our past mistakes. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. So, at the risk of making some of my other counselors upset, I'm still going to say this. I saved Millie for last. Millie's had her hand up almost from the beginning. I know that she has been living close to this process, and so I'm going to turn it to Councilor Millie.
Thank you, Mayor. I am the closer, I guess. I just want to say that I fully support this resolution to heal and rebuild and restore our schools through this replacement levy. Just some history. I remember being a second grader and going to a campaign office every day after school and watching my mom and Kathy Chalifant and a group of really hardworking, dedicated volunteers and community members have a vision for the Oak Harbor Public Schools, kind of like Councilmember Servadius. We were in that weird period where Anacortes schools were thriving, Oak Harbor was struggling, and because of the support of our community, our schools are incredibly successful. We have so many amazing opportunities for students. The fact that our school district provided Chromebooks for everyone during this unprecedented time, I think is a true statement to how important our community's support is right now, and especially when we return back to school. So I just wanted to keep it rather brief, but I am a product of the Oak Harbor school system, kindergarten at Broadview, and I graduated from Oak Harbor High School. I'm a graduate of the University of Washington, and a lot of the programs the levy pays for, such as DECA athletics, really helped me excel. And full circle, now I'm back in this community, serving this community. So kind of a nice full picture of really what those levy dollars can do for young people. And again, I just can't express enough how much I support this this resolution. So thank you for everyone and all the teachers and all the parents and all the volunteers from all the years. Thank you so, so much for everything you have all done.
Thank you, Councilor Goebel. So we have a motion on the floor, and the motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem. Reads exactly like the recommended action in the packet. I think we have 5 seconds. I'm not positive who gets the second. I guess I'll. Who's this? I guess we have documented that Councilor Wiesner gets the second to the motion. Any other input? Okay, seeing none, I will ask for all those in favor to please raise your hands. That passes unanimously, 6-0. Thank you very much. And again, thank you, Dr. Gibbon, and thank you, Nikki, for coming here tonight. We appreciate it very much. Okay. With that, then we will move on to our next item, which is item number 8A, interlocal agreement with the City of Redmond. And I think then we have Sandra Place here this evening to speak to that. Sandra?
Thank you, Mayor, members of City Council. The purpose of this agenda bill is to enter into an interlocal joint purchasing agreement with the City of Redmond. We noticed when we were doing the research on the city's insurance for the clean water facility that we did not have one in place, and Redmond actually had an RFP out for insurance brokers. So we decided that we needed to have this put into place as a purchasing tool for the future as well. An interlocal joint purchasing agreement is also known as the cooperative purchasing agreement, and it can save the city a lot of money by reducing staff time required to prepare bid documents, reduce our advertising costs, and it allows the city to benefit from a reduced price due to bulk purchasing. Staff is recommending that the City Council enter into this interlocal agreement with the City of Redmond to provide additional opportunities to increase our purchasing power and to reduce costs. In addition, this will also allow the City of Oak Harbor to aid the City of Redmond, so it goes both ways on these interlocal agreements. And we have a motion authorizing the mayor to enter into an interlocal joint purchasing agreement with the City of Redmond and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement if you approve.
Thank you, Sandra. So before we turn to council, I'll just verify with our city clerk that we've gotten no input regarding this issue from our public.
That's correct, Mayor. No input.
Okay, so we'll turn back to city council. Any questions or? Councilor Servadius.
Thank you, Mayor. Seeing no other input, I'll make the motion. I was trying to wordsmith this and make it a little more succinct, but I will read it exactly as it appears in the packet. I move to authorize the mayor to enter into an interlocal joint purchasing agreement with the city of Redmond and the mayor to sign the agreement.
Second.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion and a second, and the motion reads exactly like the recommended action in the packet. That motion was made by Councilor Servadius and seconded by Councilor Wassinger. Seeing no other input or questions, all in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Then we will move on to item number 8B, interlocal agreement with Central Whidbey Island Fire and Rescue. And I believe then we will have for this, who do we have? Also Sandra? Yes, Sandra
please.
again, thank you.
So this one is the opposite of the interlocal purchasing agreement with City of Redmond because Central Whidbey is asking us to enter into an interlocal agreement with them. And the reason they would like to do that is because they would like to piggyback off of our newly awarded SCBA bid. So this will allow them to save money by using our what we did for our bid. And in return, if we need to use their assistance in the future, we will also have that buying power and reduce our costs. So this is the same interlocal agreement, but the difference is just that they asked us, and it's good for both. It's a win-win for both. So staff is recommending that the city council enter into this interlocal agreement with Central Whidbey Fire and Rescue so we can help their agency, and in return, they will help us in the future.
Thank you, Sandra. Again, same question, no input from the public?
That's correct, Mayor. No input was received from the public.
Thank you. Then turn to council. Mayor Pro Tem Munns.
Thank you, Mayor. I would be happy to make a motion authorizing the mayor to enter into an interlocal joint purchasing agreement with Central Whidbey Fire and Rescue.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second and the motion reads exactly like the recommended action in the packet. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Munn, second by Councilor Wassinger. All in favor, raise your hands. That passes unanimously. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We will next then move to item number 8C, Professional Services Agreement, Trantec Engineering LLC for Northeast 7th Avenue reconstruction. And we have our city engineer, Jim Bridges, with us tonight. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. So tonight, we're asking the city council to authorize the mayor to approve the contract with Trantec Engineering LLC. This is for the Northeast 7th Avenue project. It's a very large contract. The value is $517,275. That does include a management reserve fund of $47,025. And the base contract is a value of $470,250. So this is a contract, the money's come from the IRTPO. They're and obligated to the city. These are federal dollars, and they have federal stipulations. The contract is not like the ones we typically see for local contracts. It's very large. It's the washed out format. And it's very specific and has some very demanding requirements. And so it's in your packet to read. But basically, the project, Trantec will provide project management. They will do data collection, wetland investigation, geotechnical investigations, surveying and right-of-way collection, and traffic data collection. They will assist us in environmental permitting. They will prepare plans and specifications, which include 30% conceptual plans, the stormwater report, 60% plans, and special provisions, and at that point in time, they'll give us an opinion of the probable cost of the project. Then a 90% review, and then 100% plan specifications and estimate package. There's also community outreach support available for us, grant application assistance to seek and help us find additional funding because what funding we do have available is not enough to cover the cost of the construction of the project when we reach that point. They provide us with audit support, and optional tasks are also available. So again, this is federal money. Federal money comes to the city. We get 86.5%. Well, we get for every $100,000 of available funding, the city has to contribute 13.5%. So our obligation at the city coffers is $69,832 to support this contract, and the federal obligation will be $447,442. So with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you, Jim. So before we turn to Jim or turn to council, just verify we've had no other input from our public.
That's correct, Mayor. No other input was received.
Okay. Then we'll turn to City Council, and we have a question from Councilor Wassinger.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a large contract for planning and permitting help and all of these scopes of work that you just mentioned. But maybe if you could just explain, I know Millie's new, and just for the public, maybe the big picture scope of this project and why it's so much, and you know, how big of a project this is for our city and how long we've been talking about this project and working on it would be helpful to understand.
Okay, yeah, this goes back, this project, excuse me, it was identified several years ago by previous staff members. It will rebuild that section of Northeast 7th between Oak Harbor Street and SR 20. It does go through, obviously we all know it's kind of a narrow section, has a lot of pedestrian traffic on it. It has a wetland to the north of it. It's very narrow right away. And so all of those things create problems when we're trying to develop a road to handle the pedestrian traffic as well as the volume of vehicular traffic. We have to manage the stormwater, as we know that's always an important piece of the process, and evaluate the potential impacts to the wetland, and figure out how to safely move traffic and pedestrians through this corridor at the same time. So that's kind of the basis of the project. The construction estimate is approximately $3.2 million to construct this project. And as you can see, this is about a 15% of that contract value, estimated value. So that's how we arrive at these numbers. We go through this process. We are required to advertise for consultant services. We received 7 submittals from engineering firms that were interested. These firms partner with other engineering firms to provide specialty sub-consulting services, such as the environmental permitting. And then we sit down and we interview. We interviewed 3 consultants for this. They were all great consultants. And we decided on, based upon the strength of Trantec. Trantec actually is a firm that over the past several years has been cherry picking all of the prime washed out retirees. So the important part of this is making sure we follow WashDOT's regulations. This is not a local project. We're not allowed to develop our own standards. These have to meet federal highway standards, state highway department standards. And so this is how and then of course, the construction of the project itself is federally mandated, that we use prevailing wages, Davis-Bacon wages. And so the cost of the project goes up. And the management of the contract itself, the production of the plans and the format that WashDOT expects them, that drives the price of this professional services contract.
Yeah, Jim, we went ahead and put up the project plan that's in the packet up on the screen. So.
Yep.
Okay, other questions, or does that answer Councillor Wassinger?
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Servadius?
Mr. Bridges, could you go through the funding that you brought this slide back up? I was looking at that. You've got their ST something block grant. I don't know what the ST stands for in the IRTPO grants.
Yes. So the STBG grant, that's the Surface Transportation Block Grant. That's the federal grant portion of it. It's distributed to the IRTPO, which is Island Regional Transportation Organization. And then it's a competitive process with all the member agencies of the IRTPO. And so we submit our project. It's rated by the members of the IRTPO, which we are one of them. And projects are selected based upon the merit. And so that's how it was selected. So this project has been awarded several hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants over the last several years that were left waning, for lack of a better explanation. And so those monies were lost. We currently have approximately $537,000 that we can obligate that have been granted to the city for this project. This number here, the 800,000 is what was expected to be spent in 2021. Other funds would be available in fiscal year 2022. And so that's why it's not quite matching up with the numbers that you're seeing here that I'm presenting to you tonight, because it's not quite the same as far as.
So we have not received a fiscal year, those 23 and 24 grants?
No, we have not. So going out beyond fiscal year 2022, those are the monies that we're going to be looking for to support this project, and that's that grant assistance that we're having in this contract.
Okay, thank you. And the only other question I had, when you talk about the fees being approximately 15% of the overall project, if Rick Holmberg was here, he'd be more dialed into this. Is that a norm? What should we expect to pay as far as the percent engineering, et cetera?
Yeah, that's for the size of project this way, a construction project of this nature, that's about right. So the higher the dollar figure, the lower the percentage of engineering fees, as we typically see. The inverse is true on the lower projects, where we see $200,000 on a local project and we have $70,000 in consultant fees. And so why that is, I don't know. When I was in private practice, I always kind of stayed in that 12 to 15% range myself in consultant fees, but that maybe I'm just the exception to the rule. But so yeah, 15% is about right for this.
Okay, well, I will support this. I know that's an important connector, that street, and it's also, there's a lot of apartments along there, and you see a lot of pedestrian traffic, and those people, there's not even a sidewalk. They're just kind of forging their own way right now in a little path in the barrel pit there off to the side. So yeah. It'd be nice to get that area improved. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other council questions? Mayor Pro Tem Munns.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Bridges, because we've gotten this large amount at the beginning of this project, and they won't go past 2022, the chances of getting what we need for 23 and 24 are very good in our favor, because we've already started the project with money that's been awarded to us. Correct?
That's kind of a yes and no question, and I'll answer both ways. So yes, once you get a project underway, then when you go for other grants, you get into that ready to proceed, right? Like when we go for, because we'll certainly go for the state transportation improvement grant from the TIB, they want to see that you are proceeding to a project, and they want to be there to help you complete it. So that's an important step. The no portion of that is the IRTPO. They do a 6-year funding window. And so a lot of the funds, and of course, you remember here last year, we applied for Midway Boulevard for the overlay and ADA ramps there. And we're not going to be able to obtain that money until 2025. It's already obligated in 2025. So what we look for going forward in the out years is some of these communities, similar to what City of Oak Harbor did years ago, they can't take advantage of the funds that have been granted to them. And so they give those back to the IRTPO, and then those become available to the next project in line. They'll call us and say, are you guys interested in these funds? And certainly we would be, because we're trying to make up as much funding as we can to reach our goal of over $3 million for construction. So that's the kind of the yes and no part of it, if that makes sense.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So the recommended action is to authorize the mayor to sign the professional service agreement with trantec. Mayor Pro Tem Munz.
Thank you, Mayor. If there are no other questions, I move to authorize the mayor to sign the professional service agreement with trantec Engineering LLC to provide engineering services on North 7th Avenue reconstruction project in the amount of $470,250 plus a 10% management reserve fund of $47,025 for a total amount of $517,275.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second, and the motion reads exactly like the recommended action in the packet. Seeing no other input or questions, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, that passes unanimously. 6 votes for. Thank you very much. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. That we'll move on then to item number 8D. And I think, Jim, our city engineer, this is professional services agreement, again with trantec Engineering LLC, this time for Windjammer Park Pedestrian Bridge, Amendment 2.
Thank you again,
Jim?
Mayor. So again, this is going to kind of show you the difference here, and I'm going to get off topic, but when the question that Mr. Servetus asked earlier about the consultant fees. So this is a contract for with trantec Engineering to provide services to support the work at the Rotary, both Rotary, the city Rotary clubs want to donate money to make aesthetic improvements to the bridge at Windjammer Park. Please recall last year when I first brought this forward, at that time, Rotary's plan was to replace the bridge, and we retained the services of trantec to evaluate the condition of the bridge and see what structural improvements would need to be done for that replacement. That was an original contract of approximately $12,900. During that evaluation, it was determined by trantec engineers that the existing bridge is in actually really good shape, and the city would be money ahead by just doing some maintenance and minor repairs on it. And we brought that to the attention of the Rotary, and they agreed and have decided to support making aesthetic improvements to the bridge to bring it to modernize it. And so we went back, we've had several meetings with the Rotary to get their input on what they would like to see. This contract reflects developing those concepts. This is a maximum dollar value contract. So the number may not be this high. It just depends on what kind of wishes that we allow to go forward, right? So we're not gonna shoot for the moon, but they want something more than the basic wood railings out there, right? So trantec, they scope their services based upon risk and how much work that may be involved. And so without knowing some of the specifics, because we are developing concepts for this project, they've provided this scope of services. So the contract before the council tonight is for $39,988.86, which if we expend the total dollars, it would bring the total expenditures of the city to match the Rotary Club of $52,955. Now the Rotary's only got $40,000, So as you can see, when we start looking at these smaller contracts, the engineering fee increases up to, we're probably at 60% or between 55 and 60% of the value of the construction project itself. So that's the difference. And so when I came to council last year, we had asked for $40,000 potential cost for engineering services. We spent $12,000 of that, and so this is another request to go forward. This will mean that we need to ask for an increase from the funding stream of $12,995 additional to be appropriated. So we've already appropriated the $40,000. Now we're asking for an appropriation increase of $12,955.86 to support the remainder of this contract. So with that, I guess I can go through the scope of work here real quick. I've got that printed out. Trantec, it will provide procedures and materials and guidance to the city on maintenance and repairs of the bridge going forward. They will provide a bridge maintenance supervisor to lead the work. Our crews will perform the work, but they will provide the maintenance supervisors to lead that work. Help them with the tools, help the city either acquire or rent the tools that are necessary. We work to, design the new structural supports that go with it. We're looking at placing a non-slip surface on the bridge deck itself. We're also looking at improving and modernizing the hand railing system through there, as well as some lighting on the bridge to provide a lighted pathway across the bridge. That lighting has to be specific and so it does not cast into the water, which attracts predator fish into the water, which may harm the other fish that may be there. So that's a requirement from Fish and Wildlife. And then there are two brass plaques mounted in the bridge abutments in the concrete. So when you walk past the bridge or across the bridge, if you don't look down to your right as you're crossing from the east heading west, or if you don't look down from to your left as you're crossing west to east, you won't know that the Rotary had anything to do with this bridge since its inception. And these are very large brass plaques. We will relocate those brass plaques. We'll put them up on pillars so that the public will know that this bridge was originally a Rotary project, I believe, back in 1961. So that's we'll take those and put those in a more prominent location so the public can see that as well. So that's what the scope of work delivers. And again, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Jim. Again, we have no input from the public on this item, so seeing none, we'll turn to council for questions and input or motions. Councillor Servadius.
Thank you. Mr. Bridges, well, first, thank you to the Rotary Clubs, both Noon and Sunrise. Obviously, you guys built this thing, but your continued interest is greatly appreciated. Mr. Bridges, so the total amount here, do we have a total amount then for repairs and construction yet? Am I just missing that in here?
We do not have that cost yet. So that will be developed in the next couple meetings with the Rotary once we determine those aesthetic improvements.
Okay, and I could be wrong. I remember at some point, or I want to think I remember in a parks plan or a capital improvement plan that we had estimated or had estimates of this thing being in the 250 range or earmarked, something like that. Does that sound?
I'm not familiar with that.
And
I've not heard that number, so.
Okay, and I could be totally wrong. I hope it's not. But I'm glad that we're trying to, I think, this bigger, beefier, preserving the bridge that's there and reusing what we can will hopefully hold up better than maybe a kit bridge could over time, and fit as well, if not better than some kind of pre-made bridge. But just I appreciate Rotary once again for stepping up. Do you know, and it might be Mr. Goldman question, and if you don't know the numbers, the sleeper pit proceeds, when we logged that, I think I don't know if we ever put it into writing, but conceptually we talked about a lot of that money going towards parks. and this obviously fits that. Do we have an accounting of what's still in that fund? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, we can get that for you.
Okay, just an email out to the council would be great. Thank you.
Okay, you got it.
That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to express my appreciation to the Sunrise and Noon Rotary for continuing support in the community and the city on joint projects. This shows that we're truly a community that can work together, and they originally had it built with the aid of the city, but to continue the support means a lot through the years for those two service clubs and the city. So I am very, very grateful, and I'm sure everyone else is. So thank you very much for this project.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other questions, input? So the recommended action is to authorize the mayor to sign a consultant agreement with Trantec Engineering LLC. Councilor Wassinger.
Yes. Is it true, Mr. Bridges, that bridge is 72 feet long?
I believe that's the right number, yes.
Wow. It just seems, I guess I'm just always walking or jogging or walking briskly over it. I didn't realize it was that long. But yeah, it's a great project, and I thank the Rotary as well for all their support in that bridge. It's a great part of the park and the path. So I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it continue to be a great thing and a great partnership with the Rotary. If there's no other questions, I will move to authorize the mayor to sign the consultant agreement with Trantec Engineering LLC to provide engineering services on the Windjammer Park pedestrian bridge in the amount of $39,988.86 and increase the total of expenditures to $52,955.86.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. The motion reads exactly like the recommended action in our packet. Motion made by Councilor Wassinger, second by Mayor Pro Tem Munns. Seeing no other questions or input, all in favor, raise your hands. Okay, that 6 in favor, so that means there is no opposition. That passes unanimously. Thank you, City Council. Okay, then we will move on to item number 9A, which is Oak Harbor Marina Restoration Feasibility Study and the options that come from that study. And I believe we have our Harbor Master, Chris Sublett, for this presentation tonight. Chris, are you with us?
Hello, Mayor.
There he is.
Mayor, City Council members. This is a follow-up to the shoreline enhancement and stormwater control projects discussion that we had in December 15th for the Marina in Catalina Park. Tonight, we're here asking the City Council to adopt option 5, both for the Marina in Catalina Park, creating a more usable shoreline beach at the Marina and a pocket beach at Catalina Park. Just as a reminder, this is a joint project between the city and the county. And with us tonight is Anna Toledo and Lori Clark, who will review the options with you. Just a little background information before we get to that point, though. These projects were first approved by City Council in 2016. Unfortunately, they didn't score high enough with the ILIO to move forward, so they stopped at that point. In 2018, City Council again authorized staff to apply for these project grants, and this time they scored higher and moved forward. Recently, we completed a feasibility study on these projects, and 2 of the 3 are moving forward, I'm happy to say. And again, that's the shoreline enhancement and stormwater control projects. The 3rd project, the shading reduction project, is not going to move forward. On December 15th, Anna gave a presentation outlining the options for the shoreline and for the stormwater. These projects range from, or these options ranged from not doing a whole lot and simply restacking the shoreline to moving the shoreline and creating pocket beaches. And then within the stormwater, these options ranged from, again, not doing a whole lot, inserting filters, to inserting bioswales and things of that nature. This is a project, these projects are entirely grant funded, and it's likely that if we don't get the grants, we wouldn't be able to move forward with these grants. So at this point, I'll just turn it over to Anna, and she can give a quick presentation on which options are available for you to choose from.
Great, thank you, Chris. Good evening, everyone, mayor and council members and staff. Thanks, Chris, for the introduction. And I just put together a few slides to kind of jog everybody's memory about what we talked about at the December meeting. And I will share my screen now. All right. So again, this was a feasibility study that was completed in last year at this point, summer of 2020, to look at shoreline restoration options along the marina, with an emphasis on benefits to habitat, as well as beach access, natural aesthetics, and recreation opportunities. And so the alternatives, I've got a slide here which shows the alternatives that were presented in the feasibility study, which was also presented to you in December. And I will go through just very quickly again what these alternatives include, and looking at them going from alternative 1 to alternative 5, going from kind of least to most habitat and recreation benefit. So we have, again, if you might remember, the shoreline was split into different reaches. Reach 1 is the area by Catalina Park, with 2 options there, sort of the minimum option being just a very basic armor cleanup, and then the maximum option being the creation of a pocket beach. Reach 2 is the area in front of the main parking lot, going from the marina office building up to the boat ramp. And those also include 2 options, either again, sort of a basic armor cleanup within the same footprint, or a slight armor setback. There was not the option here for full armor removal and shoreline restoration, but there is the option to provide some additional habitat gain in front of the armor if it's set back somewhat. And then reach 3 is the boat ramp, with the options here being no action, or doing a reduced boat ramp footprint, which also would include increasing the slope of the boat ramp so that cars don't have to back in so far into the water. You'll also see, with the increasing habitat and recreation benefit, there's also increased cost associated with each of these alternatives. The one thing I think it's important to keep in mind as well, when we're looking into grant funding options, really the ones with the highest habitat and recreation benefit are the ones that are most likely to get funded through the grant funding sources. So I'll just go through real quick some images of the options. Again, within reach 1, the minimum option is, again, just a very basic restacking of the armor, cleaning up the slope a little bit, but maintaining the existing footprint. The maximum option, the creation of a pocket beach, which includes the removal of shoreline armoring, which provides both that habitat benefit as well as an ability to walk down and access the beach. It increases the actual beach area that is available to citizens who may want to recreate along the beach. This does, it would involve moving the gazebo as well as the utility corridor. And just again, as kind of an example of what one example of a pocket beach looks like, and the removal of hard armoring, I included this one from Cornet Bay, which in a number of ways is a similar site. You know, obviously it had somewhat different armoring, but as far as the lower energy beach site and, you know, in an embayment area, it has some similarities to the Oak Harbor Marina. Within Reach 2, the area in front of the parking lot, the shoreline options here are either the minimum option, again, just a pretty basic armor cleanup and restacking, or the maximum option includes armor setback and the creation of, you know, of beach area in front of the armoring here. And I know there were some questions around what sort of impact this might have on parking. And at the end of my presentation, Chris has a slide as well to show options for parking so that there would not be any reduction in total parking spaces if this were the option to move forward with. In addition, within Reach 2, what we're looking at here, this kind of neon green line in both of these represents the stormwater improvement options. And this would be the addition of bioretention cells, which I believe is my next slide. So again, this really busy slide here, but the sort of neon green is where the bioretention would go. That's the utilization of native plants and soils to help naturally treat, slow down, filter stormwater that's running off of the parking lots where you've got, you know, cars and other, you know, things accumulating on the impervious surface, which are adding to pollutants within the stormwater runoff. So the minimum option for the stormwater bioretention cells would be working along Reach 2 here in conjunction with the shoreline option that's chosen. Additional options are available, which could be done either at the same time or at times in the future. The sort of middle option would be adding in some bioretention area within Catalina Park. And then the maximum option, which would really treat all the stormwater runoff coming off of the impervious surfaces within this area, would include bioretention cells within the Navy's property. So again, just an example, a little bit of a visual about what a couple, you know, types of bioretention cells look like. You know, they're designed to be aesthetically pleasing and have a natural look to them. And then Reach 3 is the boat ramp. As I had mentioned, you know, the minimum option is doing nothing, leaving it as is. The improvement option would include reducing the overall footprint, as well as increasing the slope of the ramp. So with that, I'll bring us back to this, our alternatives slide here with the, you know, again, the drawing your attention to the kind of the increasing habitat and recreation benefit, and with the understanding that you know, the funding options that we are looking at would favor the higher habitat and recreation options. And I have one more slide just about, again, this is what you saw in December, just about the funding opportunities. We do, you know, the kind of the next phase right now would be to move forward into preliminary design and then into final design and permitting. And then finally into final implementation. So with that, I'll maybe turn it over to Chris if you wanted to share your slide about the parking options, or if we wanted to move into any questions. I'll turn it to Chris now for your guidance.
Why don't I go over the parking slide real quick? You have to unshare your screen so that I can share them. So one of the big questions regarding the option 5 for the area in front of the parking lot was the reduction of the traffic lane and how it would affect the parking, and the fact that we're likely to lose that first row of parking. On this slide, the yellow box kind of gives a rough idea of the area we're talking about, and you can see we may lose that first row of parking there.
Hey, Chris.
It's about 20 spaces, but
Oh, there we go.
as we looked around the marina, we realized that there's plenty of places to park. We just have to designate them as parking and repurpose them from what they're currently be used. And those areas are highlighted in the red. We have the area along the park that could be used. We have the area just behind the parking lot where people do currently, and occasionally more so during bigger events, parallel park along that fog line. We have the area where the box is just to the right of that we currently store trailers and boats and stuff in. That we could tighten up that whole fence line storage and make plenty of parking there. And then of course at the end of the buildings, again, tightening that space up. It's just a matter of managing these storage areas and educating people on where they can park. So it's likely that we wouldn't reduce any parking, and it's actually likely that through this effort we may increase our parking, which would be interesting and good for the marina. So just thought it was important to share that with you.
Okay, Chris, that's it then for now?
Yep, be happy to answer any questions.
Before we
Again,
turn
the,
to
recommended
council, I just,
option is to adopt option 5 for both the park and Catalina Park.
okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry.
Recommended action is to adopt option 5 for both the marina and Catalina Park. So before we turn to council, I'd like to just verify that we've got no input from anybody in the public. Okay, we don't at this point, so let's turn to council for questions or input or anything that you might have concern. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Make sure my hand's down. For Lori and Anna, I guess I have some real questions about the analysis that was done. It appears when I look at all the documents and stuff done by your consultants that the changes or effective area or whatever was all done during the day and during the late spring, summer months, which is, as far as the tidal, it means it's very low tide during those times and the high tide is at night. Whereas right now we're in the opposite, and the wind during the summer blows southwest, I believe, but right now is coming from a different direction. And I have a couple of pictures I would like to show you. It sounds gorgeous, and I love Coronet Bay and that pocket beach, but I am really worried that if we put in a pocket beach, all we need is at least one, but it'll happen more than once on November, 11th, 12th, 13th weekend. Practically the whole island lost power, but we had huge wave action and driftwood, and that driftwood would almost probably would destroy all your fish mix material. And if you took away that, instead of restacking the armor, that it would end up eroding. And I don't think you've done a soil analysis. I know that is all filled. It was just a little sliver, and the Navy filled it in and put in that stacking. And so if Tim could show those pictures, I'm just really worried that we put in all this money and it's destroyed over a couple of storms during the winter time. And I'm not sure your consultant company did this. This was the weekend where all these logs, and you can see it doesn't quite reach the gazebo because you had that little bit of a bluff and you have all of the stacking of the cement and rocks and all that kind of stuff done by the Navy because they were trying to protect all that filled area so that they could use it. Now, it eventually washed away, but can you imagine within the first winter of December, January, and February, I just hate to see good money go to waste. In Coronet Bay, and we take our boat over there a lot, it's great, but they don't get the wave action. If you go from the bluff directly across from where this pocket beach would be, you could get, it's 1.4 miles, and you have the wind, and you're just pushing, because there is no breakwater in front of that little pocket beach. I need something else to convince me that that work that you put into that would actually be feasible. I know about 10 years ago, your section, I think it's 2, from the marina office over towards the boat ramp, we did some restoration with a new slope, and we did a bunch of planting plants that were supposed to help the fish and this and that and hold it. And that was 10 years ago, and it's probably only about 50% left. So it's just, it looks great. It works well in Coronet Bay. I like some of the aspects of the plan. We definitely need something to clean up as far as the stormwater stuff. That would be really good. But the pocket beach, I mean, it looks nice in theory. I just don't think in that location that it would work. I'm also concerned with once things are planted, you mentioned in the plan that some of it would need to be re-nourished, which means I'm guessing the city, which would actually be the Marina Enterprise Fund, would have to pay for those plants when that money could be used to repairing pylons, could be used for repairing electrical boxes for boats to plug in. There's so many little things and big things that the marina could use. This would look nice. And Windjammer Park has a lovely beach that we could do improvement on it. So it's not, it sounds like a great plan. I can do part of it, but I just can't do number 5. It is like you're pouring money down that won't work. The smaller footprint of the ramp would be fabulous. And I like the bioretention basin stuff, but I just can't go for the pocket beach. Plus, we would be losing 1/3 of the land of Catalina Park. And I see kids there running around, especially during COVID. The other park gets crowded. They come down there to have a little bit more isolation. They've got the swing sets. They can run around, chase each other. So unless you can answer or have an answer to that, I just think that your consultants did it at the wrong time of day and didn't give us enough valuable information that works during the winter months too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I can respond unless we want to have more comments or questions ahead of time. But I'll go ahead and respond. I really appreciate your comments and especially your concern about utilizing funds that, making sure that funds are well utilized and not gone to waste. So the site visits, the site characterization was done during the springtime. They were out, during the daytime. They did also do a general wind wave analysis, which looks at, wind and wave over time. And I'm not sure if that, so they have, the consultant put together a site characterization report. I don't know if that was included in the final, in the full packet or not. There are 2 reports, one being the final feasibility and the other the site characterization, which does include information about the general information about wind waves beyond a point in time when their site visits occurred. I also, so in regards to the pocket beach and the logs, that's certainly a lot of logs washed up there. I think one thing too that I would draw your attention to is that the actual elevation of the beach face would not change. So right now, if the logs are coming up, to the top or near to the top of the armor, they would similarly come up, to the top or near to the top of the beach, but not be overtopping. And one of the things about, about armor versus, a natural beach that I like to think about is the way that along an armored beach where you have that hard surface, you're actually getting increased wave refraction because you've got the waves kind of hitting up against a hard surface, where you may actually have more issues with overtopping or, logs bouncing up and over a hard surface. Whereas with a natural slope and a natural, sandy beach, you tend to have more natural wave dissipation. And so while you would still get those, logs kind of coming up and onto the beach, I would expect that to naturally happen. Likewise, they would come back off, over time in the tide. There would be some, I would expect there to be some amount of accumulation of logs over time, but that would, they come and go just as, we see on our other sandy beaches as well. But in regards to the concerns about the logs kind of getting up and over, the elevation of a pocket beach would be the same as the elevation of the armor restacking there. And there could be an option as well. This wasn't included in the conceptual design, but I think it could be explored in the preliminary design, which would be the next phase of, creating a small, natural berm kind of at the top. This is often done with the natural softer beaches, is kind of at the top of the natural slope, creating a bit of a natural berm, which is, the plan does include vegetation there, but it could include, a bit of a natural berm as well, including, the additional sediment and vegetation to hold in the existing sediment. The other, I think your question or your concern around it washing away, again, when we have, with what's existing there, with the armoring, with a steeper slope and the sediment at the bottom, what tends to happen, again, because you've got the waves hitting against the hard surface, they start to scar away and erode away at the toe of that armoring. When you've got a more gentle natural slope, it's actually less prone to erosion, so we wouldn't expect there to be as much of the sediment disappearing. I think that was actually one of the within the study, when talking about the sustainability of the shoreline options, it says the sustainability of the habitat improvements would be greatest for the pocket beach level of improvement, since this would result in the largest percentage of material placement above mean high water and at gentler slopes less prone to erosion. The placement of smaller quantities of fish mix material between the toe of the armor slopes and the mean tide level, so the minimum and moderate level improvements might require renourishment to maintain the constructed beach slope. So that there being that, if you went with the kind of the minimum restacking with some nourishment in front of that would be more likely to need renourishment rather than the natural beach slope face. I don't know if that addressed all of your concerns. I'm happy to, I'm here to help provide the information I can so that you guys can make an informed decision. So I'd be happy to.
Okay, that helps a little bit, but those rocks have been there for 80 years and there really hasn't been any soil erosion, or not much. I mean, that's why it's still there and it's still solid. And because of the severe wave action that we get
when the restoration that was done 10 years ago, where the breakwater and then all the slips kind of slow it all down, and we lost about 50% of what was done. And that's protected. So, and that was done under guidelines, and we lost 50%. And so that just, I'm sorry, that was 10 years ago, and it was done by the book, and it was done with the right veggie stuff. And then the expense that would be to the enterprise fund that has to replace those plants. I don't know how expensive that would be. Even if it was a smaller area with the armor on it, I don't mind cleaning up and restacking the armor or making it look nicer and stuff, but I just, I don't know. I'm not convinced yet that the pocket beach would work. It works in other areas and it's lovely. And you could expand the beach on the other section 2 and 3 a little bit, but I just, anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate your answers.
Certainly. Thanks for sharing your concerns.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Let's go to Councilor Servadius.
Do we, Mr. Sublette, do we have any grant money right now? Or we're, I guess that's the first question. Do we have a grant to pay for any of this right now?
No, not at this time. We actually will be bringing before the council at the next workshop on the 27th, and then subsequently on February 2nd, a grant application authorization to file for a grant application to move forward with, to help fund part of this design and permitting step. And again, this is really the design and permitting step. It's not we're moving forward with the project and going to start it right off of what we have. There'll be a lot more science involved in this, I would think, moving forward.
Okay. And the reason I ask, obviously, is we're trying to give you a decision or give guidance this evening that will drive the cost of the project. Obviously, there were some numbers up there from $300,000 to $1 million for construction, depending on what level of construction and reparation or mitigation here that we decide to do. I was thinking back, so I came on council, I believe it was the first year I was in council in 2012, we had that big storm. Mm-hmm. And we lost, I think in that one storm event, I believe it was 2012, in Windjammer Park, I would say 12 to 15 feet of beach in one storm event. And the reason I say that number is because if you remember, if you've been here a while, we used to have windbreaks down there and picnic tables, and you could actually walk out, you went out a little asphalt path to the windbreak and the picnic table, and then there was still probably another 5 to 10 feet before you hit driftwood. Now, if you go down there, you used to be able to see some of those sonotubes. I would estimate just in a few short years, we've probably lost 20, I'm going to guess 20 feet of beach, because you can't even see the sonotubes now where the windbreaks used to be. And as Ms. Munns pointed out, that's all, especially in the winter months, we're getting our winds out of the south, southeast that drive that wind and wave action hard up against Windjammer. And I realize we're talking about around the corner there, but I share the same concerns that Ms. Munns does. I'm all for the environment and doing whatever we can to filter stormwater, but I'm hard pressed to give up any of Catalina Park. My question would be, well, I don't want to give up any of Catalina Park. Let me just be very clear on that, because I think there's a lot of value to that park. It's unique, it's small, it's segregated from the rest of the city. So for weddings, any kind of event like that where you want a smaller venue with a gazebo down there, I think it's very intimate and can be very popular. And yes, a beach could add to that, but I'm going to come back to the beach in just a minute. But if we ever bring back any kind of a race event, whether it's race week as we knew it or something else, I think we need all of that real estate. I'm looking on page 418, where it's a cross section of what this beach looks like in our packet. It's page 418 in the packet. And while I appreciate Ms. Toledo's explanation, and this is, I don't want to denigrate any engineer out there because those people are much smarter than I am. But we've all seen the memes where the engineer designed something and then the mechanics got to install it in the car. And so for those of us that have lived here and we watch the tides, and especially if you're a boater, and driftwood. I'm looking at this cross section, and we cut back approximately, this whole project would be 50 to 60 feet. And it shows you where the existing riprap is. And I can just picture, I'm just visually looking on page 418 of all that driftwood that was stacked up, and all that driftwood will now just move to the east another 50 to 60 feet. And so that very much concerns me. I don't know if there's any way, if all that rock came out, and Ms. Toledo, I don't know if you can answer this question or not. If we remove all of that rock, could we not just make another breakwater and have a beach that comes out and up into that bend? I would say the north end of Reach 1, where the shoreline curves. If we had to take rock out or move rock, is there any reason we can't come out and extend to the north there a beach rather than take away from Catalina Park? Is that a consideration that we might be able to look at?
Thanks. If I'm understanding your question correctly, are you asking if we could essentially add beach in front of the existing armor that's kind of on the north end of the site? Is that the question?
Correct. So that was a thought I had, or at the further down, you illustrate in Reach 5, a beach down there. So, well, a beach up here would be nice because it's near the immediate amenities of the yacht club, the gazebo, the park. I just can't, in good conscience, give away that park to Mother Nature when we're losing stuff already at a rapid pace to Mother Nature. So could we put that park, could we bring the beach out to that curve there to the north?
Yeah, so it's a good question. Generally, the logistics of putting beach material in front of shoreline armoring, it can last for, and I don't know all the details of the work that Mayor Pro Tem was mentioning that was done 10 years ago. I'm not sure exactly how that was done, but when we're putting material in front of armoring, that will generally erode, obviously depending on the area, but it tends to erode a lot faster than restoring a beach to its natural condition, because if you don't have sediment there naturally, it's unlikely that putting sediment there will remain there long term. The natural processes are wanting to, they're hitting against that armoring, and they're taking away any sediment that wouldn't naturally be there. So while it might work as a short-term solution, it likely wouldn't work long-term to put material in an area in front of the armoring. Does that answer?
It does. And
I understood the question.
It does, and it makes sense. And I'll end with this, because Ms. Munns, I don't know if that was correct. She said 80 years that material has been there. It certainly has been there for a long time, and it lines Pioneer Way and has stopped that from eroding. And I realize that might be older technology, but it's still used. You can go over to Anacortes and Bellingham, and you see these big breakwaters made out of either constructed materials or just big boulders. It has stood up fairly well, whereas the material in front of Windjammer Park has not. I know that there was some restoration done not too long ago on the south side of Oak Harbor Bay over there, where you can take the Mailer Point Trail around on the Navy property. And I don't know if I think the county was involved in working with the Navy on that. That was done very well, and it's probably very similar to Crescent Harbor, but that's all protected, as Ms. Munns pointed out, from those southerly winds. And so while that seems, I remember they pulled all that stuff out of there when we could walk out there. I envision that. I'd love to see that happen. I just don't see us being able to fight Mother Nature on this section very well, unless maybe we were able, if we in Reach 4 or 5, if we did pull out a lot of that riprap or rock, could we build a mini breakwater coming out from the gazebo area approximately? I'm just throwing this out there. But have a mini breakwater that came out east-west, where we recycle that material and then let either nature or any other fill create a natural beach there that saves us from giving up a third or a fourth of Catalina Park right now, maybe more in the future if Mother Nature continues to reclaim that. But try and make that beach, move it out and use some of those other materials that we might take from one of these other areas as we redo the boat ramp or one of those. So I'll just yield there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Servadius. We've got a couple more hands up, so let's go to Councillor Goebel.
Thank you, Mayor. I too feel relatively similar as Councilmember Munns and Servadius. I really feel strongly that we don't build that pocket beach and take away land from Catalina Park. That's a really nice green space, and once that green space is gone, it's gone forever. If I'm correct. So I don't really see the need to create a space at Catalina Park where we can, recreate. I think what we should be doing at the marina is promoting great, facilities for boaters. I believe, boaters generate a lot of the income for the marina, paying moorage fees and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just kind of hesitant to interfere with that pocket beach or to create that pocket beach at Catalina Park. And similar to Councilmember Servadius and Munns, with the driftwood, I would hate to see all that effort and then it just to be covered in driftwood and not really usable. And then I have a question about the parking, probably for Harbor Master Sublet. So I was looking at the slide with the red areas that are kind of outlined, and I know the long rectangle that I guess is right next to the parking area right now where there's some trailers and boats. Is it really possible to snug everything up? Because in the summertime, we crab all the time, and in the summer, it's so hard, to find a parking spot. And I feel like in my memory, it's pretty maxed out in the summer. And I just would hate for somebody to not be able to use our marina as a boater, because that's like where the income comes from. And same with the little red squares. I thought the youth sailing stuff was down there. I could be wrong. It could have changed. But I'm just kind of curious where that stuff will go. Because again, I just don't want to take away from facilities for the boating community that's down there, because they pay. I could be speaking out of turn, but I feel like they help generate a lot of the money for the marina. So I'm curious to know if you really feel confident that the parking situation could be mitigated.
That's a great question. Thanks for asking it. And you're right, the boaters do support the marina. As an enterprise fund, that's where our revenue comes from, is boating in one way, shape, or form. And then, of course, our storage buildings. So what happens with the fence line storage or the fence line parking, right now it's very full. And that's because we offer a special for the small boat contract, where when you rent a slip, you also get to keep your trailer on the property for free. In the summer, that really thins out. But what happens is, as it thins out, we haven't been prudent about tightening it up. So, for example, there could be boats side by side right now, but eventually they are going to leave, and we just let people kind of find their parking within that fence line when they need that. Moving forward, what I'm proposing, and which I think would be a fairly simple thing to do, is to condense all of the items on the fence line to the south, which would create a big hole in the area of where that box is. And that's how I'm hoping to create that space. I truly believe that space is there now. It's just not organized well. Again, when people leave, we don't tighten up the fence line. And in this case, we would, in a sense, have to tighten it up, move it to the south, and then create the parking space there where that box shows. And similarly, at the ends of the sheds, on the east end of the storage sheds, you can see in that picture that there's parking there, but it's not very well organized. So again, with some staff effort, I believe we could do that. And then using the red line, That's been a common thing we've done for years, one row of parallel parking and even two at times. So yes, I'm confident we can create these spaces, very much so.
Thank you. That's good to hear, because I think whatever we can do to make it more accommodating to people to use the marina as it functions as a marina is great. I am still hesitant with the pocket beach and the potential. I think it's the pocket beach or the remover. Not the remover. The what does it say? The armor setback that would be at reach 2, because that would impact parking as well. I'm hesitant on both of those. I think that the priority is the boat ramp. I know a lot of people don't like using the boat ramp because they have to dunk their car in the water, or it's also not good for the natural environment. So in my personal opinion, I feel like that is the priority. But I don't know if I see the need to be spending that much money on pocket beaches and that kind of stuff at the marina. I'm all for the bioretention and the stormwater, whatever we can do to preserve, make sure the water is a nice quality. But again, building a pocket beach next to a marina, I don't know how many people would even use it to go swim in the water next to the marina. I'm having a really hard time, being convinced of those two, the pocket beach and the armor setback. But I am all for restacking. I really like alternative or option 3. But I appreciate all of this work. I know this is a really, it takes quite a lot of time and planning and effort to get this done. So I appreciate the thoroughness of this report. I enjoyed going over these documents. Thank you.
Sure. And just to clarify, we are asking to adopt option 5, but it is well within the city council's prerogative to say, for example, we'll select option 3 for the park and option 4 for the marina to move forward with this. So, or option 3 for both, or however the council feels we can handle that.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Coble. Councilor Mack.
Thank you, Mayor. I won't bore anybody with the details, but Chris, if you could leave that photo up there real quick. I'm in agreement with all the peers, my peers on this. There's a reason the Navy built that break wall there, or armored wall, and it stood up for so long. They do their research. They know what it takes. You look at the wind that we had out here today, folks. It can get nasty here on Whidbey. So with all of that being said, you've got some valuable real estate down there. And with all of that, I just can't see losing any of that real estate in that park. I can't see losing any of that real estate for parking. Both of those truly affect the long-term goal, which is to raise revenue, which is to put people down there. And eventually, we're going to get ourselves another race week venue, as Mr. Servadius had alluded to. And I sure hated to see that go. And there's going to be some things we need to do that. I'm not only don't want to see that parking removed, I'd like to see all the red added to that and reorganized so we can fit that many more people down there. That's a quaint little park. I'm in favor of restacking the armor, and if we can restack it, why don't we move it out a bit? I don't know if that's legal or environmentally safe, but I think it also is going to be good to put all the bioretention areas in, especially if we enlarge the parking area. So, but Pocket Beach with this nasty weather, and you've got a good thing going down there, I can't see spending the money on that, and it just is not a sensible thing in my book. So with all of that, I'm supporting it all. Everybody did a lot of work. It looks pretty, but if you do any of a pocket beach, it could be on the far south end, the other side of the boat ramp. I'm not sure what's feasible there, what's not, but I'm supporting the upgrades and improvements. But let's increase the real estate, not decrease it. So thank you, Chris, for all your time, and everyone else is there. But yes, I'd like to move forward with some of these projects, but let's be careful with what we include in the different options. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Mack. We've got a couple more hands up now. Councillor Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I think my sentiments go right along the lines. I think Mr. Mack expressed it quite well. Catalina Park, I think, has been one of our most underutilized parks in our city. I think when I go over to Anacortes and I go to the Anacortes Marina and I look at the things that are available for the boaters that go to Anacortes when they step off their boats, the little hot dog stands and the areas in the park for them to enjoy. And then I look at what we offer, when people come visit our marina and what they step off, and they're kind of remote. They're not near downtown. And they've got a grass field with a gazebo in the middle of it, right? That has been underutilized for years. It truly could be a gem. And I think putting in the Pocket Beach is going to take quite a bit away from the park, and it's going to limit our ability to do something with that park in the future. And it's also going to limit our ability to do something with that park and then accommodate events in or around that park. I think getting an event like Race Week back here is imperative. And I think that we would be losing too much valuable real estate by creating a Pocket Beach, and we might be all sitting back looking.
Yeah, I think they're still talking. So we lost our power here, but it looks like some of them don't realize that. Okay. I'm not. Oh yeah, I'm muted. Can you hear me out there? Anybody? It looks like a couple can.
He's on, okay.
We lost power here at City Hall.
We don't have Mike coming back though, do we? I can turn his sound on, speaker on.
Can you do it through your computer?
His speaker's off. I'll turn his speaker on. Where's your mouse at?
It's right here. Here's his mouse.
Oh, okay. It's right here. Okay, you have a mouse. That's why. We'll get your speaker back on. Should be on.
Okay, I'm just gonna do a post real quick.
So we're already at city council members' return.
Okay. Can you hear me out there?
He hears you through this.
I'm only seeing myself at the moment.
We lost our power here at City Hall.
Mayor, it looks like you've also lost quorum. I think Councilmember Shavadius is the only one still here.
Oh, wow.
Looks like Councilmember Wasser's coming back in.
Okay. Councillor Servadius, can you hear me?
Yes, Mayor.
I guess it's just us. Seriously, it sounds like Councillor Wassinger is trying to call back in, but our generator now is back on here at City Hall. Oh, I see.
There's a bit of a proximity call between Wiesner, Munns, myself, and Wassinger that I know of, so we're all in the same coordinate over.
Oh, okay. Okay. Look, there's Mayor Pro Tem.
When I forget about Millie, you're not that far away either. Millie, we're all in the same quadrant, I think, over here.
And we're all like on the same street, pretty much.
Okay, you guys are. So we've got a quorum back, it sounds like, and we've got our generator on here at City Hall, so. Okay. Is Councillor Wiesner? We might have lost him. I think he was talking when our power went out.
He's probably still talking.
Mute.
sound off.
Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do here. Is that this one? No.
Yeah, the little micro, no, the other one. That one. Okay. You
Click
take the
on that.
sound off, take it all the way off down here.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
All the way down. See that Jim's back. Yeah, and then get your sound off here. So we're back on, Tim?
That was a rude way to get cut off, Jim, huh?
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
My big computer won't come back on though, and that's what I was following along on the agenda. Let's see if I can get it.
Yeah, it looks like my Comcast isn't kicking back on here either, so.
So I think I'm back on, right?
My girls were right in the middle of live action Beauty and the Beast, and it hasn't come back on.
So we've got Councillor Servadius, Mayor Pro Tem, Councillor Goebel.
Thank you, thankful for hotspot. I don't know what I did without it.
Who is that? Okay. Okay, so we'll just reconvene then at this point in time. Councillor
Hotspot.
Hello? Councillor Wiesner? I know you were talking.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, in the end, I think moving forward with the pocket park at this point in time just it isn't the smart move. So I'm leaning towards option 3 there, and again side with Council Members Mac's comments about the loss of valuable real estate.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I know we had Councillor Wassinger had a hand up also. Can you hear us, Councillor Wassinger?
Did you get those comments, Mayor?
No, I didn't get Councillor Wassinger's.
I apologize. I didn't hear you call on me. I agree with my fellow council members. Not in favor of the Pocket Beach at Catalina Park and losing space in that park. And sorry, my dog is scratching at the door to get into the office. You can hear that. But agree with many other aspects as my fellow council members. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wassinger. Councillor Servadius.
Thank you. Lisa or Julie or someone, if you could, Jeff just texted me, I think he has no power. And I just asked him, Mr. Mack, if someone could just send him the sequence to dial in via phone. Unless sounds like he has no power. I just dovetailing, I guess, off of the parking comment. Well, two things that the Councilmember Mack, I was being a little more creative, building some kind of a breakwater. But if we just went with, let's say, an option 3 and we rebuild that rock and restack it, is there anything that precludes us permit-wise, and maybe you can't answer this question, can we move that to the west? 3 feet, 5 feet? Can you stack the rock at a steeper angle? I mean, there's obviously an engineered angle that makes sense to counteract the wave action. But is there a possibility to reclaim 3 feet, 5 feet when that rock is restacked to the west? I'm sure it's a permitting question. I don't know where our rights or our land actually stops at mean high water, whatever mark, or I don't know. Any comments on that, either Ms. Toledo or Mr. Sublette?
I can't answer that. I don't know. I think it is a permitting question that I'm not able to answer. I think Anna's still on the line. Maybe we lost her.
Yes, I'm still here. And yeah, that is a permitting question. I'm not a permitter, so I can't give you an official answer, but generally armoring or shoreline action is generally not allowed to kind of push out further into the water unless there's unless it's in the protection of an existing structure. Again, I'm not a permitter, so I can't give you the official answer there, but in general, I would guess that would be fairly difficult to permit.
Okay, and then just I'll end with, obviously, well, two things. I know the council supports what we can do down there as far as, stormwater filtering and making some of these improvements. I very much agree with Ms. Goebel on the boat ramp. That's a topic that comes up all the time. And I've been down there a fair amount helping friends launch boats or launch our boat or my son's sailboat. And those ramps are challenging. As far as parking, I'd like to keep the parking as close to the dock, next to the harbor master's office as possible. Putting anything on the end of those storage sheds in overflow conditions, a race event, heavy crabbing season or something like that, maybe we could put parking out there. But if you have groceries or anything that you want to carry down to your boat, that can be a fair amount of a walk just from one end of the parking lot all the way across and then down. If you're going out to one of the further docks, E or F dock. So let's try and keep the parking as consolidated as close as we can to the head of the dock there. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem. Can you hear me, Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Sublett, you said if we wanted to, we could suggest that we do option 3 for reach 1, I think they call it. And then we could do option 4 for the section 2, 3, 4, 5. Was that not what you said as a?
Yes, that is correct. It's like a menu. You could adopt option 3 for reach 1, and then any other option for reach 2 and 3. So, for example, you could do option 3 for reach 1 and option 4 for reach 2 and 3. It's just however you want to put it together.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted you to restate that as a possibility. It doesn't have to be one whole thing. It could be parts of. So thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, Chris, can you bring up the grid we had earlier? I think Anna had that on there. And that'll help the council go through with the decisions.
I'm sorry, Blaine. I didn't hear what you.
Yeah, I was asking if you could bring up we had the chart that had the options, the alternatives, and we can help in the reaches.
Would you like me to pull that up? I can do that.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
you had it earlier,
Okay.
so, yeah, and I think council's in a position where we could walk that through and get their consensus on each item.
But, yes.
Let's see. And I did just want to, if it's all right if I make a comment in sort of response to some of the conversation that's been going on. I really appreciate the robust conversation and comments, questions, and concerns that have been brought up. It sounds like there is a lot. If I kind of summarize what I'm hearing, it sounds like there's a lot of interest in the stormwater improvement, and as far.
Oh, now we lost her.
We're talking about Mac, Jeff.
The funding sources that we would.
This meeting is being recorded.
This with could maybe address the stormwater piece, and I'll maybe invite Lori Clark to jump in as well. She is the manager of our natural resource department, and she also coordinates the Island Local Integrating Organization, which helps find some of these funding sources. So my thoughts are that, if the council would like to move forward with alternative 3, that we could likely put in and be successful in funding the stormwater piece. The armor cleanup options would likely not be funded through funding sources that we're able to identify. So that would either be, that would either be for the city to consider and funding sources that you may have, or seeking out additional funding options that may be able to address those. But I just wanted to make sure that that's clear within the conversation as well. I do think the stormwater piece would probably still do well within our funding sources, and maybe Lori, if you would like to jump in a little bit about what funding options you think might be available, especially if alternative 3 is the chosen option here. Laura, are you there? She had called back in by her phone. Laura, if you're talking.
Oh, I think I'm unmuted now. Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I probably can't see.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Anna. Right, so the stormwater piece may be able to get funded through the stormwater CI, that's our federal agency, or our state agencies that funnel through the federal National Estuary Program funds. Those are national funds. That being said, if we're talking about now not giving up any of the parking lot in order to have that filtration put in there, it really depends on how much filtration we can get in that small amount of area. I'd have to look at the plans again and run that through. But certainly whatever the council adopts as far as which option you want to go with, we will do our best to advocate for funding. I want to remind the council that the county is only doing the project management of this on behalf of the city and on the marina. And so whatever you decide, we will support, and we will try and advocate for funding the best that we can. But the less down the options you go, the less likely you will be able to get funding, any grant funds, in order to fund the project, because the funds that we advocate for are for habitat and restoration. So you may be able to apply for, or not you, but the marina can apply for funding through RCO, and that's for enhancing parks. And that might be an option that you could do, and it would not mean that you had to do more of the habitat enhancement. It would just be for recreation. So you guys just let us know what you want us to do, and we'll support whatever you decide.
Okay, so thank you to the both of you. I think we've got a couple of hands still. I wanted to ask Chris, though, before this is not time sensitive tonight. Am I correct on that? I mean, this could even be brought back in a month or another couple of months from now. Is that correct?
Yes and no. One of the challenges we had was that if the higher alternatives were selected, we would likely need to apply for a grant for the design and permitting phase of this project. And those one particular grant that we were hoping to apply for needs to be submitted by February 15th. So having said that, we would have needed a decision tonight for the higher alternatives. Moving forward, though, it sounds like we're going to be at the lower alternatives, and correct me if I'm wrong, Anna, that would make this not time sensitive at this point, because we are not likely to be applying for that salmon recovery fund grant that we had talked about.
Yeah, I believe that is correct. If the city council did move forward with some of the alternative 3, for example, then we probably would not go for the salmon recovery funding and just focus on the near-term action funding that through the stormwater CI.
Right. And it sounds to me, Mayor, like the council is leaning towards 3, which would be the stormwater piece, primarily, that would not be time sensitive at this point.
Okay, so we still have a couple of hands up. Councilor Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, I guess I've got to clarify my comments. My concerns were with the loss of Catalina Park. I think looking at the restoration of Reach 2 and 3, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but, both of those are inside the marina breakwater. We don't have any issues or concerns with storms or driftwood or erosion. There, we're just talking about a parking configuration, which it sounds like to me you think is something that you can deal with. In other words, we could be fairly confident that with the restoration of Reach 2, that you can gain some parking spots. And I agree with Mr. Servadius that we need to be conscious of keeping those as close to the ramp as possible. I have, as you, Chris knows, I've walked from there all the way out to FDOC several times, and in fact, several times in a couple-hour period. And it's a really, really long walk. So I guess what I want to talk about a little bit is Reach 4 and Reach 5, which also look like a fairly large area of restoration for the habitat part of this, and an area that, if things serve me correctly, because of the way it's kind of configured and wrapped around there, doesn't get hit near as hard as Reach 1 and the property to the north of Reach 1. Any comments there?
Yes, you're correct in all of your thoughts there. Reach 2 and 3 is and even 4 and 5 are much calmer than Reach 1 because of our breakwater and because of the mailer point sticking out there and stuff. It's more well protected. And yes, I do believe we can regain any lost parking as well. And just to clarify, in Reaches 4 and 5, that's over in the Navy property. That was included in the feasibility study, but that's not something that we can control or talk about at this point. That's up to them to do whatever they're going to do. But yes, that is also a much more protected area as well. The log concern is primarily in Reach 1, and the unblocked tidal surge and current is in Reach 1. So,
and would the restoration of Reach 2 and Reach 3 be considered a large enough restoration project to apply for the salmon funds?
I'd have to ask Anna about that.
Yeah, I can answer that. I would say likely not. That's one of the things that we look at with projects like this is how can we, utilize, multiple areas, multiple benefits to be able to, to apply for funds, and where the greatest habitat benefit would be coming from is the pocket beach as well as the stormwater improvement. There would be some habitat benefit certainly within Reaches 2 and 3. There was already concern at the when we put this feasibility proposal through the Salmon Recovery Committee around the boat ramp that was not enough of a habitat improvement to be included. In fact, we utilized 2 funding sources to fund the feasibility study, and the salmon recovery funds actually did not cover the portion that looked at the boat ramp because that was part of their comments back when we got the funding. So my guess is that they would, I do think there is obviously benefit both from a habitat perspective as well as a user perspective in the boat ramp. I don't think it's enough of a salmon restoration connection for it to rank well within within a project like this. The same with the armor setback. Again, there is obviously an argument that we could make, and we could still put forward a proposal. It was certainly something that we could be done, and kind of see what happens. The armor setback without any armor removal along the stretch of beach would be a tough sell within the salmon recovery community.
So the reality is we really don't per se have this smorgasbord selection of, option 3 along with picking up doing reaches 2 and 3, because if we went that route, the reality is there wouldn't probably be any funds available for reaches 2 and 3. And if we selected that option, we would have to come up with that funding source.
Yeah, I would say, and Chris, I don't know if you want to chime in on that as well. Yeah, I would say, the way that the feasibility study is put forward is that, these are the options. There, are never, guaranteed funds associated with them. But yes, I would say that's a correct assessment, is that some of these combinations are, are more readily fundable through the habitat and recreation funding sources. Others are not, but there may be other infrastructure funding sources or other marina improvement funding sources, which is that's not my bailiwick, but it's possible. With projects like these, we often have to kind of cobble together funds to make something work, but. Yes, the habitat-focused funds are really going to be looking at those, the greater habitat improvement options.
And is there any opportunity at all to bring the Navy with that Reach 4 and 5 in as a joint project where we could actually include that into the deal and maybe have the Navy pick up their portion and the grant money pick up, but it'd be all part of that one project to higher tranking?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. That was actually part of what we looked at within the feasibility study, and they were included as a partner within the feasibility study. What came out of that really was, so Reach 4 is in front of the boatyard area, but then Reach 5 is the area that's in the Navy property, and they've currently got a warehouse right there, which would impede any restoration options, but it was included in the feasibility study as a potential for future restoration, because there is actually, as a few of you have pointed out, there is actually, it's a great spot to be able to do restoration in there, but because of the warehouse currently on the location of the warehouse, it wouldn't be feasible at this time. The Navy has, said that they may decommission that warehouse at some point in the future. It's essentially just being used right now as kind of a temporary storage facility from, when they are, moving items. They use that area as a temporary storage facility. So they have, there's the possibility that it could be decommissioned in the future, and that there would be interest in doing restoration there. And then, yes, absolutely, that would make, an application much more attractive if you can include a larger stretch of beach. But unfortunately, at this time, they're not ready to move forward with a restoration in that area.
And what's holding us back on Reach 4?
So I think that was primarily around, my understanding is the sale of that property, and maybe Chris, you can speak to this as well, and just put some potential constraints there about armor removal and having to cut back into that area. But Chris, maybe you can speak a little.
The challenge with that area there was that any armor cutback in that area would infringe upon the boatyard, thus reducing the potential business capability for the boatyard there as far as the storage area goes. Also coupled with the fact that the business is for sale, as you know, we're interested in that. It just was kind of sidestepped for now because there's so many uncertainties there with that Reach 4 and who's going to end up with it and how any setback would affect the business.
And then one last question, since we're going to be moving forward, it sounds like with the ramp proposal, and if we don't touch the reaches, because it sounds like it's an all or nothing on the reaches to me. Reach 1, Reach 2, Reach 3, they've got to go together to make it so that we have a funding source for that. Now, if we do that boat ramp work, and then we're gonna be working right there in Reach 3. I mean, is that gonna cause a problem? Are we gonna be coming back later on? Let's say we do get a grant later to do some restoration work down there. Is that gonna be coming back to bite us in the butt? The fact that we didn't do that coinciding with the ramp work?
It potentially could if there was some mitigation involved in that ramp work. It potentially could, but it's really hard to say at this point.
So unless we're planning on moving forward with the work in Catalina Park, it sounds like the decision doesn't have to be made tonight, because the one grant that is time sensitive that we have to apply for by February 15th isn't a grant we're going to be able to apply for anyhow without having that Catalina Park ingredient.
That's correct. Absolutely correct.
Okay. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilor Wiesner. Councilor Goebel. Can you hear me, Millie? Councilor Goebel?
Thank you, Mayor.
There we go.
I just wanted to, for the sake of time, briefly just throw this out there as an option, kind of building on what Councilmember Wiesner had said. I'm curious if maybe we look at just focusing our efforts on improving the boat ramp, bioretention, stormwater, and then maybe, I'm kind of curious, and maybe Harbor Master Sublet or Anna, you'll have a comment for this, but is there a real strong need for the armor clean up in Reach 1 and Reach 2, or is it kind of just when a feasibility study is done, that's kind of like they always recommend something? Or I'm just kind of curious how important it is if the habitat is suffering down there, or it's unsafe to have that kind of armor set up down there. I'm wondering if we even need to do it, and we just leave it alone and focus our efforts on those other capacities, as well as the parking consolidation. So if you can make a comment on that, that'd be great.
I can talk about the recreational piece. From a recreational point of view, it's difficult for people to get down on the beach. When the marina was dredged and Reach 2 there was some habitat mix put down there. It was cleaned up. Some plants were done. Originally, when it was done, it was really nice, and people really used that a lot. They would go down there, walk in that small area, take their dogs down there and stuff. But it's a challenge for them to get down there because it's so steep with the rocks. It's somewhat dangerous, in fact. Over the years, as Mayor Pro Tem had mentioned, that habitat mix is worn out and gone away. There's fewer people using it. So from a recreational piece, it's an enhancement and just an addition to the marina. It's not required as a recreational piece, unfortunately, though.
And then you may not have a clue. Do you know what it would cost? If it sounds like there's not going to be grant funding if we go with just the cleanup or removal method. Do you know what that would cost? Would we have to bring in an outside company, or is that something, we do as a city?
I don't have a ballpark figure for that. I can't even think off the top of my head what it was when we did it about 10 years ago. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
I'll just respond to that, council member. There is, within the feasibility study, there is a breakdown of estimated costs, and I think I'm trying to look at it right now on my computer. It is broken down, so each of the alternatives are broken down. So I'm looking at.
I think I found it.
Okay.
I think it's like 100,000. There's a bunch of items, but yeah, I think it's section like 2A through I. There's all sorts of.
Yes, yeah, you've got it right there. So, those are obviously, these are estimates, and but that's that would.
Yeah. About
The
100.
general idea.
Ish. Okay. Thank you for your guys' comments. I appreciate it.
Mayor Pro Tem. Can you hear me, Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. We have really discussed this other than missing Chair Heisen, Councilman Heisen tonight. I can't see waiting. It seems like we all agree that we don't want to lose
Yeah, I get
a
it.
third of Catalina Park. But we do want the stormwater, the ramp, and fish restoration. So why can't we do option 3 for Reach 1 and option 2 and 3 ask for option 4 for that? And see where it goes. I mean, we may they're saying our odds are against us, but if you don't apply, you never know. And I'm not sure delaying it a week or two is going to really make any difference from what we've heard from them tonight. It's sad that we have to lose land in order to get money for fish habitat, but this is our marina and it's an enterprise fund, and it's for boaters and crabbers and the people that come and go smelting, and there's a lot of recreation there. If they want to go to the beach, it's nice that they can get down to the Reach 2 and 3 kind of easily, but we do have Windjammer Park to go down to the beach, to spend the day on the beach. So I would make a motion, and I may not get a second, that we do option 3 for Reach 1 and option 4 for section Reach 2 and 3.
Is there a second? Okay, not seeing any.
Mayor, I'll second that only because I want to discuss it. I want to have a minute to look at the packet.
Okay, but we're up against our time now. Can you hear me, Councilor?
Yep. I move to suspend our meeting rules and extend our meeting to 10 p.m.
I second it.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to extend our meeting this evening until 10 p.m. All in favor, raise your hands. All in favor of extending the meeting until 10 p.m.? Clerk, how are we doing? You seeing any hands? Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that passes 5 with 5 votes this evening. Okay, and then we've got a motion and a second now. And Councilor, or Mayor Pro Tem, maybe you could, would you kindly repeat that motion?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I move that we do option 3, which would not lose part of the park. It would involve cleanup of the restacking and the fish mix in front of that, which we may have to renourishment at some point. And then for Reach 2 and 3, we apply for option 4, which includes more of the stormwater and the boat ramp and some fish mix in front of that. And it
So we're
makes a little bit more of a beach there.
so we're trying to get the motion down, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, I move option 3 for Reach 1 and option 4 for Reach 2 and 3.
Perfect. Okay, and I think that's Councilor Servades. You second. You had seconded that motion, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. We have a motion and a second. So, anybody want to? Yes, Councilor Servades.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess what I'm looking at, Councilmember Munns, and what I was trying to get my head around, I don't want to give up on this. I would really love to see beach access from Catalina and even a pocket beach down there. I just don't think it's, and I'm not willing to give up land to do that. but I'd still like to find a way, and if it would help us gain, and it may not, Mr. Sublette, it may not meet your February deadline if we can't give you clear guidance or make a decision that's clear enough to put a grant application back together, or putting an application together. If there's some way creatively to create a mini breakwater that would allow for the creation of a beach that extends out, I could absolutely support moving in that direction. And that breakwater may just give enough protection for a little pocket beach there that would give people access down to there. Ms. Munns, what I struggle with in the motion though that you just made in reach 2, you said option 4 in reach 2, which would involve, and for whatever reason, my laptop is fighting me. I don't know if it's a slow internet connection. I'm trying to view the packet on here. That's going to involve, option 4 is going to involve going into those parking spaces, and I don't support that either. Is that correct if we go with option 4 for reach 2?
No,
That's
that's just,
presenting moving into the parking spaces?
no, that's just an armor cleanup in reach 2. It's not, reach 5 is the one that calls out the armor setback. And the setback would be going into the parking area.
In reach, say that again, reach 5 is clear down south. But
I mean, alternative 5 would have a setback in reach 2.
Okay, so Ms. Munn's proposal, Councilmember Munn's proposal would be, just take me through again, I'm looking here on the screen. I just don't want to give up parking. I don't want to give up any of that real estate. But and if we go with this option tonight, I still want to be creative in trying to come up with something that might be able to secure some salmon habitat restoration funding if we can create a pocket beach up north there.
Sure.
But alternative 4 does not, and obviously I want to focus on the boat ramp, but so alternative 4 for reaches 2 and 3 does not reduce parking.
No.
As I'm looking straight. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, Councillor Goebel. Can you hear me, Councillor Goebel?
I'm so sorry. Yes. So I want to clarify a couple things. So with option 4, I wrote this all down. So with reach 1 choosing option 3, totally on board. With reach 2 and reach 3 choosing option 4, I'm on board. I just want to confirm that if we select option 4 for those 2 reaches, it's going to increase our likelihood of getting grant funding, or at least make our shot better.
Thanks for the question. I just want to clarify a little bit as well here, because what I heard from the motion is within reach 1, armor cleanup, and then within reaches 2 and 3, alternative 4, which is armor cleanup and reduced boat ramp footprint, which is actually all the same as alternative 3. So reaches 2 and 3 have the same options within alternatives 3 and 4. So I know this is a lot of numbers being thrown around. I appreciate the staff putting up this page, but I guess I don't understand the distinction that the Mayor Pro Tem was making within the reaches, because to me it sounded like the explanation is actually encompassed by alternative 3, but maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Well, that's why I brought it up. Because I felt the same sentiment. I have both of the alternatives. They're on pages 436 and 437 your council packet. It's like an itemized breakdown of all the expenses, and really alternative 3 and alternative 4 are almost identical in these tables, except item 2G says purchase and place beach substrate. It's about 30-something thousand, $40-something thousand higher from alternative 3 to 4. So in my position, I'm recommending we just do and keep it simple and offer out reach 1, 2, and 3. All will be recommended under option 3, because I don't really see a huge difference between 3 and 4, and maybe for the sake of clarity, it's all under option 3. But that's just, I don't know. That's just what I noticed.
The difference between alternatives 3 and 4 is the pocket beach. Within all of the reaches, the only difference is the pocket beach.
Oh, really? Okay, I may be then confused because in reach, well, I won't go any further because for the sake of time, but I just feel that we should keep it all under option 3 to keep it simple. And yeah.
Okay, so Councilor Goebel, okay, we're done then on the question there. Then we'll go to Councilor, or I'm sorry, back to Mayor Pro Tem.
I must have misread something, so there is a motion. It was a second. We can just vote it down and have a new motion for the option 3.
Okay, is everybody ready for the vote? Councilor Wassinger? Okay, I see that.
Oh, no, I'm ready for the vote.
Okay.
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. Councilor Mack is on the phone. He has joined us on the phone. Okay, if he had a question, he would be able to tell you or ask you.
No
Okay.
comments or questions
Okay.
this time.
Okay.
I'm trying to take it all in.
Okay, so all in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Let's see, aye.
Seeing none, right? Okay, so that fails. No vote there. Okay. We'll move on to new motion or, okay, Councilor Servadius.
So I too was confused, but Mayor, thank you, Ms. Goebel and Ms. Toledo for jumping in. Mayor Pro Tem, was your motion, do you want to make it or would you like me?
Go ahead.
So I move to select option 3 for reaches 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and second to option 3, which is alternative 3, right? Same thing, yes?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And for reaches 1, 2, and 3. And we have a motion and a second. I can't recall who got the second. Was that Councilor Wassinger? Councilor Goebel, okay. Okay, anybody, are you ready for that vote? Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye, or raise your hands. Okay, that passes, looks like 5. Wait a minute, and then Councilor Mack, we need to ask yes, yay or nay. So I think we're unanimous. Well, no, we haven't heard from Councilor Mack.
Yay.
Okay.
Yes.
Are we unanimous? Yes. Okay. That passes unanimously. Goodness. Thank you. Lots of activity there, lots of good questions. Thank you. We will now move on then to item number 10A, Clean Water Facility Update. And we should have our project manager, Brett Arvidsson. Brett, are you?
Yes, I'm here. Lisa, would you put me up, please? Well, good evening. This is a good presentation on the current status of our clean water facility. Next slide, please. As you know, the clean water facility went into operation in partial operation in November 2018. Our dryer went on in September 2019. The park was opened in June of 2019. While substantially complete, the construction continued until into 2020. We developed an initial punch list in the summer of 2019, and we also started beginning some warranty work. The punch list was considered complete in September of 2020, which is last September. Next slide, please. Talk about warranty. Generally, the warranty starts when the actual unit is placed into beneficial operations. We did have some staggered acceptance in the project. The contractual warranty period is 1 year, though we have some items that have extended warranties. We've been almost 18 months since we started the thing up, so most of the facility and the park are beyond the warranty period. We still have a couple of items that haven't been finished with the warranty stuff, but it's just minor stuff right now. Next slide, please. Our biosolids building, as you know, we have experienced odors, and we purchased units. The odor units have arrived, and we've begun installing the units. We've got them in place, and we've ordered the ductwork for that, so we hope to have them up and running shortly. The staff is continuing working on improving the operation of the dryer units, and we have actually made substantial progress in there by we had an opportunity to get and do some sealing and do some more work on it, so it's actually improved quite substantially. Next slide, please. Membrane expansion, you did approve purchase of additional membranes at the October 20th meeting. We're working with Suez on coordinating the installation of the units. We're in the process of obtaining an electrical bid, but it may turn out that we may not need electrical services in this one. We're pretty close to thinking we might be okay. We have received some piping, and we actually had electrical motors show up yesterday. I heard from Suez that our modules have shipped from Europe. They left before Christmas, so right now we're on schedule for installation in late January. As what it's been, as you might realize, that we may be complicated or impacted by the wet weather, depending on how things go. But so far, we've been running pretty well. Next slide, please. Lagoon cleaning, we do retain an obligation to remove the biosolids from the lagoon at the seaplane base. We have prepared specs and are getting prepared to advertise it shortly. The cleaning process will take place in the hopefully in the spring or early summer of 2021. At that point, we'll probably have additional contracts presented for disposal of the biosolids. Next slide, please. A biosolids marking and interpretive center process. The biosolids marking materials were complete last July. They have been included in your packet. We also started work on the interpretive center in 2019, but with the budget constraints that we saw, and we slowed it down because of the COVID situation. With the budget constraints that we saw coming out of last summer, we stopped work on the project and brought it to a state where we could pick it back up again in the future. But that date is not determined at this point. Your agenda bill packet included the documentation of those two efforts. Next slide. Contract closeout, completion of punch lists. Active construction is pretty much complete. We're still holding with retainage. The contract closeout is a long process involving L&I, Department of Revenue, and final release of liens and claims. The final release L&I process approaching completion is on hold to the final step. The next step involves final pay reconciliation and obtaining releases. We anticipate the administration process to continue for a while, but hopefully we'll get it done by the end of the summer. Next slide. Questions?
Okay, Councilor Wiesner. Can you hear me there, Councilor Wiesner?
No, I can't, Mayor. Thank
Okay.
you. Mr. Arvidsson, as you know, I've been particularly interested in this enviro issues issue, and I appreciate you presenting to me these two double-sided flyer marketing material documents and this 2-page marketing plan. Can you tell me how much of the budget that we had budgeted for that was spent on these basically 4 pages?
I'd have to go back and look at the invoice. It was like $6,000 or $8,000. We did include the invoice in with your packet there someplace.
Yeah, page 496. Page 496.
Excuse me?
Page 496 has the most current Enviro issues invoice for the total.
496, and which task is that? Is
It's
numbered by
task
it looks
number
like?
500, biosolids 84%.
It looks like $12,298.75 we've spent on those documents. And what have we done with those documents?
At this point, we haven't been active marketing because of the COVID situation. We have begun some discussions with some farmers in the area. We're coming into the gardening season and the farming season, so we're actually in a good position to start using materials. If you look, we also included a marketing plan, so we want to get out and start taking these materials and using them in a more active sense. Like I say, last February, we did not have the opportunity to do that. Now we do. And so, like I say, we've lost the summer, but our intent is to start getting more active on that. And we've actually starting to develop some interest in the agricultural community with the material. We've had several inquiries on it. So having the materials available really helps us talk to new people with new interests in it.
Well, I'm just going to put it out there, $13,000 to create a two-page brochure. This was something I voted against when it came around, and I'm just going to put it out there. That we've sat on these documents now for 7 months. The dryer has been in operation for 16 months, and we yet to market or sell any of the material coming out of it. I can remember back when we were pitched on the idea of environmental issues was getting ahead of the game, creating a brand, creating a demand for the product. And, I just don't think we've done that. And I guess I'm just going to leave it at that. I feel $13,000 for these 2 double-paged brochures was just not a good expenditure on our end. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any other input or questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Arvidsson. Thank you for sticking with us here until this time of the evening. We appreciate it. And just a reminder that following now, I think the council will meet in closed session to discuss labor negotiations for RCW 4230-140, Section 4. And so we don't anticipate any further business, but I guess we will come back after closed session. No, we won't. So at this point, we will adjourn our regular city council meeting unless council has any other questions or relating to that. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn our regular meeting.
I move to adjourn.
And see a second.
Second.
I second the meeting.
Okay, we've got a motion in a couple of seconds. Thank you, Councilor Servadius. I'll give the second to Councilor Mack. All in favor, raise your hands, and then we'll just go to our next meeting. Yes, that passes unanimously. Now we're in closed session, or will be going to closed session. Okay.
The recording has stopped.
Okay.